This is NVHA 020033. It is July 24th, 2002. We're at the home of Paul and Virginia Loftus. And Paul was in the Marine Corps in World War II. First of all, thank you for allowing us to come into your home and do this interview. Let's start out with your full name.
My full name would be Paul Eugene Thomas Loftus.
Oh, that's a nice long name.
Thomas is a confirmation name.
Okay. Yeah, a Catholic confirmation?
Yes.
Yeah.
St. Mary's Church, Anderson, Indiana.
And what was your date of birth?
My date of birth was February 19th, 1918.
1918. And what was your rank at discharge?
Well, I was in twice, you know.
Ah.
World War II, I got out as captain, and then I was in the Korean War and was major.
Oh, okay. Where were you born?
I was born in Anderson, Indiana.
And whereabouts, in a hospital or home?
Well, at home on Ohio Avenue.
Okay.
And that was the usual thing then, to have births at home.
Yes.
And I went past there the other day, and they've now got some kind of a health clinic there.
Oh.
So that's about all for that.
Whereabouts on Ohio?
It'd be, at that time it was the second or third house from Jefferson Street.
Okay.
And later it was a filling station and first store for furs.
Oh, yes.
That's the
And
Madison County Community
Perlman's.
Health Center.
yeah, that's
Okay.
house there now.
That's where your house was?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we lived there until our house that my father was building on Pearl Street, and he had it started in 1917, and I was born in 1918, and after a couple of months they moved there at the new address.
Okay.
1924 Pearl.
1924 Pearl.
10 blocks from St. Mary's Church and School.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I went 12 years.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your dad. What was his name?
Well, they called him Frank, but his full name was Francis Timothy Loftus.
Okay.
And he was first generation from Ireland.
Ah.
And he was employed at that time at what they called the Remy Electric Company,
Ah.
which later became part of General Motors.
Yeah.
I think it was about 1924 they become part of General Motors.
Were the Ramey brothers still working there at the time?
I don't know.
Huh.
At that time, of course, when the First World War came, they went big and got into their electronic part. And then after General Motors took them over, why then they were building plants almost every year
Oh, yeah.
till they got up to 18,000 people.
18,000 people. That's hard to imagine. Now
It
they're
is.
scaling back to nothing.
It is to start out. And the building was tore down. They erected about a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad after that was the first building that they had.
Yeah. Sure is. Well, how would you describe your dad to people?
Well, he was a small man, I'd say. By stature, he was probably about 5'7", and probably 130 pounds. And he was an accountant by profession.
Oh.
And he worked there for Remy Electric and General Motors until 1952.
Okay.
And I remember they had a big party for him in 1952, but I was called back to service in March, so I wasn't able to attend to it.
Ah.
But it was a nice party. My wife was able to attend, and that was in the first days of General Motors retiring people other than the ones on top side.
Right. What about your mom? What was her name?
Well, my mother's name was Leona Mary Frossard. It's Frossard.
I know some Frossards.
Well, they're
Mike?
cousins. Yeah, Mike. He's
Okay.
her first cousins.
Oh, okay.
And she married my dad in June 17th, 1909. And they lived on Pearl Street at the 1924 address until my mother died. Well, my father died early. He was only 75 when he died. And my mother lived there until she fell and broke her hip and had to go to the hospital first and then to the nursing home. And my sister lived there for a few years after that, and then she moved to a smaller house, and we sold the house. And it's still sitting there. I go past it every once in a while and kind of reminisce.
Yeah.
But
Well, go ahead.
my sister lived with my mother. She had been married and divorced, and she brought up her boy, and my mother was more like a babysitter when she went to work.
Yeah.
So it all worked out pretty good, and it's one of those things that there's a lot of things you can't do anything about.
What was your mom like, personality-wise?
Well, she was a loving person. She was what I'd call a very good wife and mother. She had 5 children, of which I was the 4th, and she was self-educated. At the time when she was born in Ohio, she only got to go to the 3rd grade. And she turned out to be one of the best penmanship on writing that I've ever seen.
Wow.
And she was of French descent and spoke French.
Oh, did she?
Yes,
Ah.
she spoke French, and her mother spoke French, and whenever they got together, they always would talk French, and my father used to say that they're talking about us.
Did you ever pick up the language?
Not even wholly. I could understand some things, but until I started going to school.
Yeah.
And then when I went to school, we weren't there as often at home during the daytime, and my grandmother used to come over a lot, and they would converse in French, and my grandmother was, she was born in this country, but she was had an excellent dialect. And she died, well, she was born way back in 59. And she lived to be about 79 or 80.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Especially for being born during that time. And
Well, my mother, when she died, she was 101.
was she really?
Yes.
Wow.
And my father died at 75, but his father lived to be 86,
Ah,
and he came from Ireland. He was born in 1844 and came over here in 1848 and came in through the port of New Orleans.
okay.
That was the port of entry in those days, in addition to the ones on the East Coast. And they came up the Mississippi River to the Tennessee River, and they stayed a while in Alabama. I got correspondence from there where they were kind of wild country at that time.
Yeah.
And then they moved up into the Ohio River basin, and then he had come to Indiana through the canal workers, and he came up to Marietta, Ohio first, and then came over through Cincinnati up to Connorsville, and that's when they was doing a lot of the canals there. And then he came to Anderson, and that's where he met his wife, and she was a native of Indiana.
Okay.
In fact, she was born here, Cambridge City, and it was a lot of history.
Oh yeah.
And then my grandfather Loftus came to Anderson, and he and his brothers got into a business of their own. He was a blacksmith, and they made carriages and these Conestoga wagons.
Oh really?
Huh. In fact, when I came back to the Marine Corps in 1952, I was stationed in California, and they sent me up to Cold Weather Battalion up in the Sierra Nevadas.
Okay.
That was a camp where they taught the Marines how to get along with the weather and how to eat and sleep and protect yourself. And on weekends we couldn't go very far because it was a lot of snow up there, but I got to go to a place in California that they had a ghost town, and there was two of his wagons there which had his trademark on.
Oh, no kidding.
And
wow.
Which I thought was great.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. Well, you mentioned some brothers and sisters.
Yes.
What were their names and what's become of them in life?
Well, the oldest in the family of the children was Francis J. Loftus, and he was born May the 2nd, 1910, because my folks were married in 1909. It's 1910. And then my second brother was Robert V. Loftus. He had a kind of a funny name. The V stood for vertiment. And I asked my mother, I says, I'd never heard of that. I said, you sure it's not Vermont? She says, no, it's vertiment. It was the name of a priest that she had known and thought good of him. And he was born, Francis and Robert both were born in Rushville, Indiana. At that time, my dad was a auditor on the Union Traction Railroad.
I didn't know it went that far south.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Went there, and in fact, the Union Traction went all over Indiana.
Huh.
It later became the Indiana Railroad.
Okay.
But he was on a run from Indianapolis to Rushville, and he was with them when he first got married until he came to Anderson and went with Remy Electric.
Okay.
The third in the family, well, let's see, Robert was in the U.S. Army as an engineer, and when he got back out of service, he went with the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railway as a surveyor, and well, they were interested at that time in making a lot of grade separations because of so many automobile crossings were that. So he worked on that for a number of years, and he died. Well, it's been that was May the 3rd, 1993. third one born was my sister, Mary Genevieve, and she was born April 15th, 1916. And she resided in Anniston, attended the local St. Mary's school, and she died, it was sometime in March, about March the 9th, or 1969. She died early. Then I was the fourth. My younger sister is still living, and her name is Margaret Jean Mountain. It was Loftus, and she married a fellow by the name of Mountain, and she had 3 children, and then she stayed with my mother until they had to take her to the nursing home. And then she lives in an apartment about a couple of miles from here now. We see each other, we call each other every day, and find out what's new, which is very seldom anything new. And but we do get it so that we keep in touch, and she comes out here a lot, and we meet her many times going down to the Knights of Columbus when they had their fish fries and chicken suppers. So I haven't talked to her today yet, but I will before I go to bed.
The Irish stew. I always look forward to the Irish stew at St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I've been helping to do that for, I think it's 26 years.
Have you really? That is the best. Let's see what. Okay, so you grew up on Pearl Street, and what are some of the things you did as a kid?
Well, I was a typical kid, I think. I remember when I got a wagon, I was in the 2nd grade. And of course, in those days, you generally got one nice toy, and you mainly got underwear and socks and clothing. And I went to St. Mary's School there, and that was in September of 1924.
Now, St. Mary's back then went all the way from 1st grade through high school, didn't it?
Yes, in fact, my class, well, first of all, they had built a new school. We had been going to, I never went to the old school because it was converted church.
Okay.
And see, back sometime when they built what is St. Mary's now, at that time was built over across the street, and there was a graveyard over there. So when this present church of St. Mary's was built, started in 1893, they went ahead and put the school in the old church where the high school is now.
Okay.
And I started school in the fall of 1924, and that was the first class in the new building.
Okay.
So that made my class, when we graduated from there, it was the first class that had 12 years in the school.
Where's the cemetery?
The cemetery is back at the hospital. You know St. John's over on Birth?
Okay.
That's where they buried him.
They moved it.
They moved him.
They moved the cemetery?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there was, I don't know how many they had to move, but back in 1893, there weren't too many Catholics in Anderson.
How were Catholics treated back then?
Well, being a minority, they didn't. A lot of people didn't like them. They always thought that the Pope was going to come over and run our country, and we were not mistreated by any means, but when things came, the priorities went to the other people.
Okay.
And as far as I can remember, it was about 3% of the population was Catholic in Anderson until almost about 1935, 36, around that time, just before the war started.
Okay.
And when people was going away and people was coming in to work in the factories, you'd get a lot of people that was Catholic that moved here from Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, South Bend. There's quite a few Polish descent people here that had come here, and they called it the acre where they lived because they all stayed in the same place.
Yeah.
But I know when I was in high school, one of the first Polish fellows to graduate from St. Mary's was Stanley Tiska, and he was shot about 6 weeks before graduation out there on Lindbergh Road.
Wow.
Some guys that was in a parked car shot him.
Oh,
They had their own basketball team, and St. Mary's team was already done for the season, but they were playing other schools just for kicks.
Right.
And he was coming home from the game, and somebody shot, and he was in the back seat, and it went right through the car into his back and killed him.
Oh, gee. What, was that just a random shooting, or were they mad at him for something? Or?
No, what it was is I think it was a couple of lovers sitting in a parked car, and I don't know why they shot him unless maybe they honked the horn at him or maybe yelled at him, you know. It's kind of like they are today, you know. If you go to a stop sign and you look at a guy cross-eyed, he might even shoot you.
Yeah. You don't think of that happening back then, but I guess it did.
Yeah. But we had, St. Mary's had 8 grades and 4 high school classes, and until they closed the high school in '66. Yeah, I had a daughter in class of '65, and that was the last year that they had high school classes.
Did you hang around more with people from school or people from your neighborhood, or how did
Well,
you?
both. Actually, being close to school, at that time people walked to school, and you knew a lot of the other kids from the other schools. I know some of the ones that we used to fight with, they'd say that they're those cat lickers, and we says, well, cats can climb trees, but pups can't. And the ones that was telling me that were my best friends we got in high school. And they married girls from St. Mary's, and in fact, a couple of them just died here the last couple of years.
Well, I reckon you had nuns for teachers.
Yes, we had good nuns, and they really taught you. I mean, there was no monkey business. And you'd have some of the kind of grouchy at times, and however, now I look back on it, they were almost like saints.
Yeah.
You didn't get in trouble, did you?
No, no, I didn't.
I've heard some of them were pretty tough. I mean, by the time you went
Oh.
to boot camp, you'd already been through it.
Well, I tell you, if I had got in trouble at school, I would have been in trouble when I got home.
Home too.
And but the ones that I had were really dedicated teachers, and they'd go out of their way to help the children that didn't get along. A lot of the Polish families they still, the folks would still be using the Polish language and never acquired the English language. The kids did, so they couldn't help them out very well. So later, just about the time that boy was shot that time, the Polish had quite a community out there. They began to spread out over the city of Anderson and marrying other than Polish people. Yeah. And it brought about a good deal. So then all the Polish people would generally graduate. But I remember when I was in the 8th grade that we had, I still had 6 or 7 Polish people, but it was started out in the 1st grade. We had 69 pupils taught by one teacher.
Oh my!
But a good section of them was Polish, and I finally acquired how to pronounce some of their names.
Oh.
That was always a tongue twister.
I always kind of wondered if maybe our names were hard for them to pronounce.
Well, most of our names was vowels and that way, and generally short. Right. Now they had long names, and they generally, after they had the long name, they had a ski on the end of it. So it was kind of, well, you might say, kind of ridiculous that they didn't chop off part of their name, but they all got along together, and as times got better there, the Polish people, the kids would go to school, and then they would actually go through graduation, which was good for the community and themselves too.
That's true. Do any of the teachers stand out in memory? Is there anyone?
Oh yeah,
you can remember?
Well, Sister Miguel, she was Irish, and she let everybody know it. And she taught my father. Ah. And then there was 3 sisters who were blood sisters that taught there at the same time, and they were very nice. We had a grouchy one in the 4th grade, and we were all scared of her. But I had a teacher in the 2nd grade. Her name was Sister Crescentia, and she was born in Germany. Okay. And she came over to America to teach in the wilderness. And her and her sister came over and got on a train in New York, and they got to South Bend, and that was the first question she says. She asked, she says, "Well, where are all the Indians?" And she used to tell me a lot of stories about her days in Germany when she was a young lady, and that her and her sister wanted to go to America to teach the heathens.
Yeah. We got plenty of them here.
Yeah, we have. And she told us about her dogs that she'd have and how they used to have giant schnauzers over there. It was a work dog, and every morning her father would milk the cows and they'd take into the village the milk that he had. So she told me that, and I often wondered where she went. And when my boy was in school, he was in the 4th grade. You know how they did in the morning, they'd have roll call, see who went to church. And each student had to get up and stand up and say what his name was. And when it came to Mark Loftus, she says, "Do you have a dad by the name of Loftus living?" And he said, "Yes." And so she said, "You tell your dad I want to see him. So I went up to see her, and I was up there 45 minutes to an hour. She was telling me where she had been teaching school and all that. And that she said, I knew when the name Loftus came up, there wasn't very many Loftus she ever heard of. So I went up and talked, and I saw her several times after that. She was here for a couple of years, and then they was transferred elsewhere. And then she was elderly then, and she passed away a few years after that.
I was thinking she could have taught the Anderson Indians, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe that's what they were trying to tell her.
I guess we did have a few
There you
here.
go.
Yeah.
She got off the right.
Got off the right place. Did you have any kind of heroes when you were a kid? Cowboy heroes or aviation heroes? Or
I know when I was in third grade, one of my heroes was Lindbergh.
Yeah.
And I know that he was quite a hero because we had to have tablets, in grade school especially, and the cover would always have Lindbergh on it. Call him Lindy. They'd put we in parentheses or something like that. Quotation marks, rather. And that meant, I asked what they meant by we, and somebody said, well, it was Lindbergh and his cat that went across the ocean. And I had never heard of that before. I haven't heard of it since.
I read his autobiography about that, and he didn't mention that.
That's right.
I wonder if he would. I think he referred to his plane and himself as we.
Oh, well, maybe that's probably what it was. But somehow we got the thing that was a cat.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, he had to worry about weight. He didn't need another 4 pounds of a cat.
No, he didn't.
We're going down.
I'm sorry. Something's got to go. And it's not going to be me.
Yeah.
Did you? You would have been about 9 or 10 when he made his flight. Do you remember anything about it?
Yeah. Let's see. I was in the third grade. At the end of the third grade, it was in May. And I was 9 years old. I probably just passed my 10th.
Okay.
Because I was born in February, and it was May that he went across. They was Newt Rockney used to be a hero of mine.
Oh, yeah.
And
Coach at Notre Dame.
yeah, people like that. Of course, Sister Meliel that had in the first grade. She was Irish from the word go, and the name of Notre Dame was like you know what.
Yeah.
And every afternoon when we got ready to leave school, we all got in ranks and stood there in the long hallway by class.
Yeah.
And then when time was, they were all there, and you couldn't talk. And what she'd do, she had that Victrola there. She started up the Notre Dame Victory March, and that's how we went out of school by grade.
That's a good way to do it.
And
Get you fired up.
yeah, got them fired up. Yeah, she was a great sister.
Do you remember when Newt Rockney was killed?
Yes, I think he got killed where it was Kansas.
Yeah, his plane crashed somewhere.
Yeah, plane
Not
crash
sure
around
where.
Kansas. He had a correspondent with him, newspaper man. Can't think what his name was anymore. But in grade school, a lot of things was local. You know, you knew who the governor was, and of course, the president of the United States was somebody that you just couldn't hardly believe who he was. You know.
Yeah.
And now that I get older, you look at some of them we haven't had some too good.
Yeah.
Now, you were around probably in the days of Dillinger, weren't you?
Yes.
Remember any of that?
Yeah, I remember Dillinger very well. In fact, he had his first robbery at the Daleville Bank.
Huh.
And I remember Now he was considered kind of like a hero,
Somewhat.
you know,
Yeah.
because a lot of people didn't like the police. So when he was putting over in the police and getting out of jails, and they was running after him, why a lot of people figured, oh, that's almost like Robin Hood.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
He didn't give you any of the money, did he?
No, he didn't give us any, but you know, he just lived down there in Mooresville, just south of Indianapolis, about 20 miles.
Didn't they send him to the Pendleton Reformatory for that robbery in Daleville?
You know, I can't say for sure.
I was thinking his first major imprisonment was was down there.
It could have been. But I followed all those gangsters
Did you?
in the papers. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde, and that Mob Walker,
Yeah.
all of them. And I like to watch them on television. Now, the G-Men. I got a kick out of the G-Men.
Yeah.
They were kind of heroes, but mainly I think. Well, in those days, I can remember when I was in the first grade, we didn't have a radio. The radios were not out. You know,
Okay.
my brother he had a crystal set, and we could get Anderson.
Yeah.
And sometimes you could get Indianapolis, but that's all you could get. And then when the radio really come out, my brother bought one. It must have been about 1927, because it was called a Crossley Showbox,
Mm-hmm.
and it had all kinds of dials on it, and we were told not to fool with it. But he dickered in all that and made himself. He made a radio when he was still in. I think he was still in grade school,
Oh, neat.
but he was always inclined that way.
Yeah.
And so we had that, and they got it so that they began to broadcast the Anderson Indians over the radio,
Oh, okay.
and you could listen at home. But they didn't have everyone. They just had the ones that when some big team, and of course Anderson had a pretty good team in those days. It seemed like they were. You could more or less tell that when they got a team, they kind of kept it like all 3 years.
Yeah.
And but as I say, that you know, here we were when we listened to the radio. We used to listen to the WSM Nashville, Tennessee, when they had the old opera.
Oh, yeah.
My mother and I used to sit up and wait for it to come on, and I'd be up till maybe 10:30 on Saturday night.
Remember some of the performers?
Yeah, the only one I can remember was that lady who wore a hat all the time.
Minnie
Minnie
Pearl?
Pearl?
Minnie Pearl. That's the only one I can remember. And yet, a lot of them are dead. When they mention them on television now, the name comes to me. Yeah, I remember that.
So you pop some popcorn and sit up and wait for it to come on?
Oh, we had popcorn. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a very good childhood. We knew what we were supposed to do, and we did it. And we knew if we didn't do it, there's going to have to come up with some answers.
Did you ever go to your mom and dad and say, "I'm bored"?
No, I can't
Well-
ever remember that. We entertained ourselves. When I was in the third grade, a fellow by the name of Robert Wells, who went to St. Mary's, and he was a lot older than I was. He'd been a stamp collector, and they used to come down and visit our house because at that time my brother, being about 8 years older than me, was going with this girl, and her mother would come down like on a Friday night sometime, and he said he didn't want any stamp collection, so I said, well, what is that? So he brought it down and gave it to me. It wasn't very much, but it got me started on stamp collecting. And I spent from then until I got out of high school collecting stamps, but I never bought any.
Huh.
I traded fellas. I used to trade my cousin, and he used to take advantage of me too. But the thing was that I could sit there and be home by myself, like on a Sunday afternoon if they were gone, and I could do that.
Yeah.
Well, I got it here at the house, and I got a number of stamps while I was overseas, but I never got them in my book.
My brother used to collect stamps pretty regular, and I had a few mint blocks. Dad worked at the post office, and so he'd bring those home every now and again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it, but I'll tell you when I got disgusted with was after World War II. All the communist countries, Czechoslovakia and all those countries, they started issuing.
We're talking about the European countries after World War II are flooding with stamps of athletes.
Yes, the subject was more or less athletics. Both male and female participants having these large meets between countries and between themselves, and they'd have a whole section of stamps that's called a series, and there'd be different costs for each stamp, but it was a set, and there might be 24, 25. Well, then they didn't issue other stamps like historic buildings or bridges or anything like that. They just stopped that. And I just figured, I don't want all those stamps. In the first place, they had so many, I didn't have enough pages to put them in the book. So, and they weren't very pretty stamps. I did love stamp collecting, mainly from a historical and geographical standpoint. I always liked maps. I always liked things that had good history.
Did you ever sit down with a map and just sort of follow
Oh,
along
yeah.
and imagine you were going there?
I tell you what I did. In fact, I still do it when we go on trips. When we get to the motel where we're going for the night, I generally always take the maps that I've got in and look at them, see where I'm going and where I'd been and all that.
Yeah.
History and geography I loved in school. They don't have that anymore.
No, not like they should.
No, I get a kick when they talk about the different people, ask where Mexico is or all that, they come up with some silly answer.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that you think maybe that they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
But I guess there's a lot of people that you see them interview them on the sidewalk in New York here on different things. They give them a question and they get some damn silly answers.
Guys, they're spending too much time indoctrinating them with
That's
all
right.
sorts of political philosophy, and
That's what it is.
teaching things they could really use. You mentioned athletes. You remember Jesse Owens?
Yes. I remember when in 1932 when he went to Berlin, this was big,
The Olympics?
the Olympics, and of course Hitler was in power, and Jesse Owens showed him how he could run, and he was black, so therefore he was not Aryan,
Yeah.
and it was very embarrassing to Hitler to have an American especially and be black and not be German descent or German blood.
The folks back here cheering for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember he was great.
That would have been a neat Olympics to follow.
Yes, it would have been.
That would have been great. But do you remember as Hitler was coming to power, was there any point at which it seemed as though he was a good leader?
Yes, however, we didn't know what was going on underneath.
Yeah, before you really got to know him.
He brought back a lot of good feelings with the German people because they figured that he was bringing them out of the disgrace of the Versailles Treaty. And of course, the German people, the Germanic races, have always been more or less warlike. Even back in the Middle Ages, they were that way. So I think that he got a hold of the German people, and they weren't able to know the real truth. And the only thing that bothered me was when they started making the Jews wear Star of David on maybe their coat or their arm even.
So that was fairly well known back here?
Yes.
I didn't know to what extent we knew about that.
I used to read a magazine called Literary Digest. And they, after the election of, I think it was Hoover? Somebody, it was an election, and I think Al Smith was involved in it at that time.
Right.
And they more or less was suggesting that Hitler was okay, and the people over here weren't getting the whole story. But the election went the wrong way, and the Reader's Digest, the Literary Digest, this went up and out. They went body up.
Yeah, that was Hoover and Al Smith.
Al Smith,
Yeah.
1932.
Okay, being a Catholic kid back then, what'd you think of Al Smith running for president?
Oh, we thought it was great. Sister Remigio thought that was something for the greatest thing there is. But, you still hear things about that, about the campaign, how the people used to sing that song, on the streets of New York and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you was Catholic, you was class 1 of Sister Remigio.
I know Hoover in his autobiography was very disturbed by the fact that people were dumping on Al Smith because of him being a Catholic.
Uh-huh.
He didn't want to have any part of that.
Well, Hoover was a good man, I think, and I think he was smart enough, but there's times when you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, or the right time, I don't know which, but they had an awful lot of jokes about him, about it's going to be good times tomorrow, it's just around the corner.
Yeah.
They had a lot of songs for the Depression, but
Yeah, it's a shame he was handed that because he was such a distinguished American.
Yes, he
if you
was.
look at the rest of his career.
well, you look what he did in Europe after World War One.
Yeah.
He was really the head of that food program.
Oh yeah. He saved a lot of starving
Yes, he
people.
did.
And then that Mississippi flood where he went.
Yes.
And
I haven't read a big book on Hoover, but I had one time. It wasn't a very big one, but it more or less told just what he actually had accomplished. And I don't think a lot of people realize that today, what he accomplished.
well, he's so sullied by the
Well, I
Depression
think
and-
so many people were galvanized by the people in power were all lawyers, and here he was an engineer.
right.
And I think that they didn't think that he had the goal. He might have been smart, but he wasn't politically smart.
Right. How'd your family do in the Great Depression?
Well, we got through it. We didn't have probably the things that you'd like to had. Well, I know, like clothing. You didn't. You got something new at Christmas time, and maybe Easter, and but as food, we didn't have steaks or anything. You might have hamburger and some cuts of ham, and you had a lot of other things that went with it that you could have. Potatoes different way, and we had a lot of vegetables.
Have your own garden?
A couple times we did. At least we always started out that way.
Yeah, my garden's always kind of an accidental garden.
Well, I had a couple of good ones out here when we first moved out here, and I really had some good things I'd done, and I even took pictures of the things. I put them out here on the lawn, took pictures of them, because I thought my brothers in Milwaukee probably wouldn't believe it. But we did. Used to have that. I used to have some raspberry bushes and things that way. But during the Depression, that we didn't suffer like some people did. I mean, we were able to. It's just like we used to have. We had a coal furnace,
Yeah.
and it used to be that in good times, when they delivered coal, they would put it in for you for so much ton. However, when the Depression come, they deliver the coal, but myself and my father would be the ones that hauled it in.
Yeah.
And we had it hauled in from the alley, clear down to the yard. And I remember that we generally get a ton at a time. And
That's a lot of coal.
it is.
And it doesn't shovel all that good either, does it?
No, most of us picking it up in lumps.
Yeah.
However, it didn't hurt me. And you was always glad when it was done and you felt like you did something.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of people didn't have a lot to eat. And I can remember when the Depression kept going on, it was in 1937, it was still hanging on, that Delco Remy, they were down to, they laid a lot of them off, and in the offices, instead of laying some of them off, what they do, they all agreed that they would take like a day off
Oh, okay.
each week, or maybe 2 days. They did it patterning so everybody would have a job,
Right.
which worked out good. But I can remember that was at the time. I can remember when my dad said he worked in the office, so they always wore suits.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, well, there won't be any new suits for a while. And I can remember they got to the place where he was matching trousers with the top.
Yeah. Would have been kind of tough.
But I know a lot of people had it bad. Take the guys was selling apples. Hell, they was out in the cold. I remember they had the WPA, and they was turning over all the brick streets in town. They were taking them up and taking the mortar off of them and putting them up, and then they would start over again and had to do streets. Some of them are still in existence.
Yeah.
There's one over there by the hospital between Main and Meridian.
Yeah.
Right there, that's still there.
It's a couple over there off of 8th Street, north of 8th Street. There's
Mhm.
quite a few.
Yeah.
So they made a lot of jokes about the WPA, but at least they earned enough so they could at least live like a human being.
I know, that had been awful tough for folks.
Yeah.
You weren't talking about deadbeats at that time. You were
No.
talking about just average guys that just
That's right. It didn't make any
didn't have
difference.
anything to do.
It didn't make any difference if you came from a rich family. A lot of them people, they lost a lot in the crash.
You know, they did. So you graduated 35 or
36.
36? Okay. And at the time, did you know what you wanted to do with your life?
Well, I thought it did. I decided to be an engineer, and I think that it was mainly because my two brothers were.
Oh, okay.
And my dad told me, he says, you do what you want, but he says, I think you would be better in a business. So I did. I decided to try the engineering, and tried it 1 year, and I saw that I wasn't cut out to be that, so I transferred to business administration.
Are you talking about design engineering or railroad engineering?
No, the designing engineer.
Designing engineer, okay.
And actually, what I wanted to be was a civil engineer.
Oh,
Mainly, when I look back now, I think it was because you was outside and building stuff or doing something like that. I wouldn't have been the kind to be a mechanical engineer because I didn't have that aptitude.
you have too much personality for a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
I sometimes think they take a class in school that takes all their personality.
Uh-huh. Well, I got the business, and the war was coming, and we had an economics teacher at Marquette University that his name was Reardon, and he was well, it's kind of hard to say. I think he married a Russian, what they call white Russian,
Okay, yeah.
not the Reds.
Oh, yeah.
And he chased her around the world, and she landed up in Tokyo, and he went there, and by gosh, he found her and got married. Well, then he taught in the University of Tokyo. He was teaching economics, and he was seeing what was happening back then about what the Japanese was doing. And he told us, he said, there's going to be a war. And hell, this was, God, it was 1937.
Yeah.
And I remember he came in one morning and he threw his satchel of books on the lecturing table. You know how the lecturing rooms where they go
Right.
up. He brought that in and threw that thing on there, and we thought he was nuts. He said, World War II started this morning. And that was when the USS Penny was sunk.
Oh,
And
yes.
he got us interested in it, and so until for about a week or two, we didn't have any economics. He was just telling us about what he knew was going on over there. And he was over there at the time when they had the rape of Nanking.
Yes.
Have you ever seen the movies of that?
I haven't seen movies, but I've seen some pictures of it.
I saw
It's
it
pretty
about a
nasty.
week ago. It was on the historical,
Right.
and they had the films from back that time it was taken, and I tell you, that was something else. But he told us all what happened, and finally they caught him down by the docks, and he said, I wasn't trying to photograph anything. He said, I was photographing some statues that was there, and he says, I wasn't caring about what they had out there. And they arrested him, and the only way he could do was to resign at the University of Tokyo and come here. He brought his wife here, and
But was Tojo in charge at that time?
let's see. Yes, he would have been,
Well, just
because he was something else. Tojo, of course, you know how they always said that the Emperor of Japan didn't really know what was going on. Bull.
He did.
He knew every damn thing. In fact, they showed him parading out there that white horse all the time and making him a god, and he knew what was going on. So then we went ahead, and of course, Pearl Harbor happened. I'd been home for a while after that, and it was I had joined the Knights of Columbus in October, and on December 7th we were to get our initiation in the 2nd and 3rd degrees.
Wow.
We went to Richmond, Indiana, and there's 3 of us fellows from here went down there, and about halfway through the thing, they come in and said, the Japs have bombed Pearl Harbor. Well, that did away with the initiation.
Initiation.
We came home, and I remember at that time they didn't put things on the radio right away or anything like that. They put extras out, newspapers. They'd go down the streets selling extras, and those guys would make a good deal of money. Because a lot of guys just give me a paper and give them $1, you know.
Yeah.
And I got home and I went downtown. The place to meet at that time was on the corner of 11th and Meridian, right there by the Citizens Bank. And we stood there till 3 o'clock in the morning, waiting to get more stuff, you know. And they had a couple of extras that come out every couple of hours.
Yeah.
And
Did they have any pictures or just stories?
well, there was some pictures, but not too many. Most of them was they used pictures like pictures of the Emperor of Japan.
Oh, okay.
And the Allies and people like that. But that started up. Finally, at 3 o'clock, I went home. But I didn't realize yet what it was all about. I knew that it was bad, especially when you start seeing some of the pictures. And so I had been in the Marine Corps Reserve when I was in college. The Marine Corps had a program they called the Eastern Platoon Leaders class, and the East Coast had that, and the West Coast would have one like it.
Okay.
And
There's something like ROTC?
yes,
Okay.
except actually what it later become was the Officers Candidate School.
Okay.
And the day after Pearl Harbor, we tried to listen in on everything we could and find out more what we could. And I knew that I'd get called up because I'd been in the reserve. I volunteered on May 16th, 1940, before the war, mainly because of what that professor talked about. And there was another professor, and he had been in the Marine Corps during World War I.
Oh, wow.
And he told me, he said, you'll get a chance to be an officer, and he says that'll help you out mentally and otherwise. But I went ahead, and that was on May 16th, 1940. Went to Chicago and had an examination, and God, I thought they was never going to get through with me. They put me on this and that. And I thought to myself, gee, many Christmas is it? I thought they just come in and took your temperature and put you in. And so they said, well, if you're going to go to officers training, you'll have to come back next week. We want to see if you have got a heart murmur. And so I went back with my pal the next week, and I didn't have any. So they swore us in, and then of course, come Pearl Harbor, they had those things ready to send out the day that the thing happened. I got mine. Let's see. I got mine close to the 20th of December, so I got to stay here for Christmas. But I was gone after New Year's.
Wow. That's quick.
I was in Philadelphia. They sent me to Philadelphia Navy Yard. That's where the basic school. It was like the service schools, like West Point and that.
Okay.
Anyhow, I was there, and God, they put us through some of the damnedest things. And it was a cold winter that winter, and it seemed like all they wanted to do is go out and at 2 o'clock in the morning and start exercising or running around that track. So I got out of there on April 20th. They had graduation from there. My folks drove from Indiana at that time, and of course there wasn't any gas rationing up to that time. And they came out there, and then I came home with them and spent 2 days, and left my civilian clothes here and I was sent to Camp Lejeune, which at that time wasn't even named. They was just beginning.
Really?
They was just beginning to put the foundations of the barracks in.
Huh. I didn't know how far back that dated.
Yeah,
So it was a World War II?
it was World War II.
Well, before you get too much farther along, the World War I Marine, was there still that sense of brotherhood and pride in the
Oh,
Marine
yeah.
Corps?
That's his name was Tenhaken, I remember, and he said that it made him decide what he wanted to do, and he said after he said if he got back, that he was going to do something worthwhile.
Yeah.
But anyhow, when I got out and I missed my damn train here in Anderson. And my dad had to drive me to Cincinnati to get a plane.
Yeah.
And I remember it was, well, first of all, I was going to try to get to Richmond, Indiana, and get on to Pennsylvania and go to Washington, D.C., and then down.
Right.
But I got there and I missed the train there because I was late getting out of here.
Oh,
So I had to go to Cincinnati, and I had my orders, so I was able to get a lift. I don't know if they bumped somebody or what, but they told me to stand by, and next thing I knew, I was in the air.
first time you've been up in a plane?
Yep.
That must have been hard for your dad to leave you there.
Well, it was.
Just the two of you.
Yeah. I can't remember. I think my sister went with me down there. But I got to Washington, D.C. before I knew it.
Yeah.
And then I had to take that railroad train out of Washington, D.C. to Wilmington, North Carolina.
Okay.
And that was the old Fredericksburg Railroad. And it was open cars, you know.
So like the Civil War cars there?
Oh, boy.
It seemed like it.
And I had never been well, I had been to Washington about 1940, though. Yeah, that was in 40. When I went to the summer school there for the platoon leaders class, we were there, and my dad and mother and my sister came to see me at the day I got out of there.
That was quite a trip.
Yeah, it was. In those days it was. And then we went to Washington, D.C. and saw the sights and this and that. That was in 40, but...
Do you have a favorite place in Washington? Favorite monument or...
No, I just think it's a beautiful city, and
It is.
I always enjoyed when I went. I got up there several times after that. But you know, when I got down to Wilmington, North Carolina, they had to back the train up to get out to go to Camp Lejeune.
Oh, really?
The way the tracks were, you know.
It's on a spur line?
Well, it was kind of like a spur line, yes. It's trained to back up for a while, and they'd hitch on some more cars, and it seemed like it took us forever to get there.
Yeah.
Well, we got there. They said, "Here's your address, 1st.Marine Division, and give us the U.S. Post Office box number 120 for be assigned to us." And they said, "You have to put your address down as New River, North Carolina, because the camp hasn't been named yet."
Yeah.
Well, I got there. That was funny. I got there, and it was confusion. There was troops. There was an army camp about 20 miles up the road that had 40,000 people in. We had around 50 or 60 there at Camp Lejeune, which was named later.
Yeah.
And whenever we got Liberty, which half of them would go on Liberty at a time, and we went down to Wilmington for the Liberty, and when we got there was all the Army there, all our guys, you had to drink warm beer, and you'd have to wait in the line maybe a half hour to get a glass of beer.
Oh, wow. That flares some tempers.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas! You said it. Well, things were such that they would just build they started they had most of the concrete in parts of for the barracks, but they also had these huts,
Okay.
and they had oil furnaces in them for the winter time, and they smoked most of the time. And we were only there. I got there on April 20th, and we were assigned. We had maneuvers every day, and had a lot of classwork in the night, and a lot of 14-mile marches. They used to get us up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they'd say, "Now we're going to go down to the town of Verona." It's all it was a crossroad.
Yeah.
We're going to go along the railroad track.
That'd be
Well,
tough walking.
We went along the railroad track, and they said, they didn't say it was 7 miles. They said, "We're going to Verona." But we finally found out when we got down, they said, "Well, now we're going to walk back." And when we got back, we found out it was 7 miles there and 7 miles back. But the worst thing, they did that about 3 days a week. And they had to alternate because they had so many men down there. But as you went along the railroad track, the damn rattlesnakes were awful down there.
Oh, really?
That place was a swamp anyhow to begin with. And the rattlesnakes would get up next to the rails there because it was warm.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of guys that got snake bit. Finally, after about a week of that, they got us a little kit. Each, I think I still got mine. I never had to use it. But it was a little snake kit that had like a needle and a little, like a razor blade
Yeah.
to cut in X, and some gauze and that. A lot of guys had to use them. But you can't see a snake at 4 o'clock in the morning.
No, you sure can't.
You're lucky to find the rails.
Wow.
But
Did you do any holy stoning?
so what?
Did you get to do any holy stoning?
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. It's where you take a stone and you scrub down the deck. And
Oh no, we didn't have to do much of that. We did it when we first got there to clean the place where we were going to occupy.
yeah.
At basic school, we did that. But when we got down at Camp Lejeune, the guys that lived in that hut or whatever it was, and it took me about 4 days before they got us a hut.
Yeah.
And we lived in you get a guy that was a pal, and you take your 2 pieces of canvas for a pup tent and put them together.
Okay. Okay.
And that they got us a hut finally, and they were getting organized, but it was everything going to rot, and he was always hurrying.
Yeah.
Hurry up here. Then when you got there, you had to wait.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, and almost every time you went to a place, you had to go double time.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys that squawk, and I know they'd say, "Well, we're trying to get you in shape." So we did. We got along, but I wasn't at Camp Lejeune very long, and they said, "Well, you're going to get out of this hellhole here. Snake bites won't be there. We're going to go to New Zealand to train."
New Zealand?
Yeah. And I said, "Well, at least we're getting out of the country here. Something different or maybe
I've
better."
never heard of such a leap from New Zealand to
Yeah.
Camp Lejeune to,
Camp Lejeune to
usually
there.
stop off at San Diego for a while. And,
Well, no, we stopped off in San Francisco. We were there about 3 days.
okay.
But I kept record of all the towns we was going through it on the different
Oh, okay.
railway. And so actually we went from New River which would have been Suffolk, Virginia. We started going north, and we left in our greens. And hell, this is already last part of May, early June,
Yeah.
and so everybody said, "Oh, they're going to send us over to Europe because we were wearing green uniforms,
Yeah.
for the winter."
Yeah.
And somebody says, "No, we're going to New Zealand." Well, finally we found out we were going to New Zealand, and almost everybody was happy because they said, "Oh, you would go over there and train for a number of months." Well, we thought that was swell, Hell, a lot of the guys roped the folks back home that they was going to go to train, and we left New River, and the train went north. And then when somebody said he was going to go to probably over to Europe, and then that night, the next morning we woke up, we was down in Flomoton, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gee.
We went down there, and then we went to Montgomery, Alabama, and New Orleans.
Yeah.
We couldn't get out, of course.
What, do you think they sent you north just to sort of throw off spies or something?
Well, yeah, because there was already spies at Camp Lejeune or New River. Yeah, they found 3 Germans there that was dropped off by a submarine.
Did they really?
Yeah. There's a lot of things that people don't know what happened. There was 6 Germans up around New Jersey that they got, and they got the firing squad. Yeah,
Wow.
that was on the Historical Society just the other day,
Huh.
talking about the things that happened that has never come to surface.
Yeah.
Well, from New Orleans, we were sad that we couldn't at least, seen it. Hell, all we saw was the railroad tracks, and they shot up north, up to Fort Smith, and then they went to up into Salina, Kansas, and then we got on the Union Pacific. They put the train on that, and we went then to San Francisco. But it took us, as I remember, 9 days to go from East Coast to the West Coast. Of course, we went clear down and around, and they had to a lot of times wait on passenger trains and get off of the siding. Sometimes we'd be on a siding 3 and 4 hours.
Oh, that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we got out in the desert, out close to Reno, and there's a place called Sparks, Nevada. And they said, you guys can get off here. It's going to be a while. And I know the guys got out, and a lot of them was just doing nothing. They wanted to go in town and get some beers, what they wanted to do. And they wouldn't let us. So when we got to San Francisco, we got to Oakland. That's where we got off, actually. Got off on at the Oakland terminal. And they said, now we're going to have some liberty here, but you'll have to wait till we get over in San Francisco because that's where our ship that we was going to take will be. So a lot of guys had liberty, and a lot of guys got back a day late, and some of them didn't want to come back. And we stayed there about 3 days. And they put us aboard ship, and when they found out they got everybody that they wanted on, they made us give our Garand rifles up to the Springfield 03. They said that they heard that because of the beaches in the Pacific, were sandy. Should get it. Okay.
Talking about the beaches in the Pacific.
Yeah, they said that there's so much sand on the beaches that they figured that the mechanism, if the sand got in the mechanism, because it had never really been tried under those conditions.
Right.
It had been tried in woods and places that way, but just beaches where there's nothing but sand. And they figured that so they took them away from us and gave us Springfield 03s. Well, the Springfield 03s, that was a wonderful rifle, but it didn't have the firepower that we used to have. The old Springfield had a clip of 5, and you had to bolt it each time to get, so you could fire. The Grand was Grand. That was a good.
Squeeze and go.
But well, we got on that ship, and we were all happy because we was going to New Zealand to train, and some of the guys had got literature from somebody about how nice it was down there, and which it was a beautiful country.
Yeah.
And we said, well, they said we're going to go out, leave here, and meet with another part of a convoy that has Army troops on them, and then when we get close to Hawaii, the Army troops is going to veer off, and then we'd just go straight to New Zealand. Well, we did, but we had all kinds of scares. Sometimes I think they did it on purpose. They said that it was a court-martial offense if you took a picture through the porthole. You weren't supposed to open the portholes.
Okay.
And some guys had done it, so they were going to get penalized for that, and they wouldn't be getting liberty as fast as when they got to New Zealand. So we thought, well, we'll be in New Zealand, and we got rid of the Army troops. We could see where the group was, where the Hawaii Island group was, but you couldn't make out anything.
Yeah.
Let's see the tops of those mountains over there. And we went straight to New Zealand, went past the Cook Islands down the South Pacific, and they pulled into Port Phillips. That was the port that is between Tasmania and the southern part of Australia.
Okay.
And we went through there, and they took us up there with those tugboats. We got up there, and we
3 of 020033, and you were out in the bay, and
was out in the bay, and they finally stopped, and the convoy kind of all came in together, but they was all within several miles of each other, and everybody was saying, "Boy, look at that a pretty place. That this Wellington is just like San Francisco. It comes right out of the water, big hills."
yeah,
And they got cable cars, and they had the red clay roofs, and it looked like some place that you really wanted to get out there. The guys couldn't hardly wait to get out until we had a boat come out, had a bunch of sailors and some big wigs come out to the boat, and this Marine colonel came aboard, and he said, he told them there, he said, there's been some change in plans, and the 5th Marines are out at the Camp Pycock, but you're not going out there. And somebody said, well, where are we going? They said, right where you are, until we see what we're going to do. Well, he says, you'll know in a couple of hours. What they was telling us, they said, come up and said that things have changed so bad since you left the States. It took us 21 days from San Francisco to Wellington, New Zealand.
wow,
21 days.
that's a long time.
It is. To see nothing but water.
Yeah, what'd you think of it? Did you travel pretty well in the ocean and get sick?
Oh, I never got sick. A lot of guys did.
Yeah.
But the ship we was on was the John Ericsson. It was a Swedish liner that we took over probably before the war.
Okay.
And we had the division on it, which had about 18,000 men on it. And
That's a lot of people.
it was a lot. But
Must have
we,
really been packed
they
in
got
there.
down to New Zealand there, and then when that colonel said that we're not going out to Camp Lejeune. Everybody said, well, where are we going? The guy says, well, we're going to go up in the islands and do some fighting. And boy, you just drooped,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
much for training.
because you didn't know where in the hell you was. Here you was at, we tried to exercise aboard ship. They wanted you to exercise and walk the entire ship so many times a day. And of course, with that many men, of course, some of them was in the galley getting food ready. They fed all day long.
Yeah.
You know, by the time you tried to go up one of those stair casings and those ladders, hell, some guys would have to get off so you could go up or down.
Yeah.
Well, the meals wasn't very good on that ship. I mean, I've had better. But when they finally told us what was going to do going up there, they said, well, we're going to go up there right from here. And they said, no, we're going to pull up to the sides of the port here, and we're going to combat load the ships. The New Zealanders, the ones that was 14 and down,
Right.
couldn't do it. The guys that could do it was on strike,
Oh,
and so we had to do it.
oh of course.
Well, can't you imagine what that was? And it took us 11 days and 11 nights to get that ship so we could go. It was combat loaded. They did have transport quartermasters that knew how it was done.
Right.
But this was a big deal. You get there are going to be 90 ships in this convoy. So
What was the emergency? Was it the fact that the Japanese were pressing in on Australia?
well, what they did, in July, around the 1st of July, the Japanese landed some troops and naval battalions to put an airfield on Guadalcanal.
Okay.
And in fact, it was the reason that they were so desperate. They knew that it was going to be a touch and go situation. We might be both going there at the same time.
Yeah.
So they
So
decided.
it was a race to see who would get there first.
Well, they got there. They were all there all the month of July.
Okay.
But
They weren't really firmly
no,
entrenched. At
no.
that
But
point.
they were doing the airport and getting it
Yeah.
ready, and they decided that we had to meet the carrier group, and but we had to go up north to it was in the Fijis. They found an island up there, the islands of Fiji. At certain times of the day, the amount of water going up and down by the moon fluctuated, and it was about right for us to go up there and try out what we were going to do at Guadalcanal.
Okay.
Had the same.
Seen tide cycles. And,
Yeah.
right.
So we went there. We was there. They run. It was a almost catastrophe because the islands, the tide was not correct of what the Navy they had given them, and the beaches, you couldn't see the beaches at first, but when the tide went down, in between us and the beaches was coral, and after they tore about 6 boats up going across the coral,
Yeah.
and some guys getting hurt, they called the situation off. So we had to sit there then for a couple of days until the aircraft carriers and the battleship came down. And when it came down, then they had their schedule fixed so that we would arrive. We was going to arrive at Guadalcanal earlier than what they wanted. But then when this happened, they figured they better not. So
Yeah.
one of our colonels was picked up by a float plane, and they flew him to the Fijis or Santa Marcos down. It was a base in the South Pacific, and the Army B-17 flew him and some others over Guadalcanal to see how they were coming. And when he come back, he told them that they was ready to almost land planes. They had worked around the clock, and so they decided that they're going to set a date and go.
Do you know this colonel's name?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I knew. I wanted to say this. I can't think of it right now.
That's okay. Wherever possible, we do like
Yeah.
to pick up names.
Yeah, well, this, we got, they had all their plans, and then one morning everybody started yelling, and I was like, what in the hell's going on? So I went up and got on deck, and you could see about 2 miles away there's those big aircraft carriers sitting
Wow.
up there, and a battleship and destroyers and cruisers, and it made everybody feel good then,
Yeah.
because they knew what was going to come, and when they got everything ready, they decided they had to get to Guadalcanal at a certain time.
Because of the tides.
Yeah, tides, and also to arrive at the time they wanted us to.
Okay.
In other words, we was going to go up on the west side of Guadalcanal and come in from there and come straight east. And we were lucky because there was a squall. It was probably hundreds of miles big, and the whole fleet and all the transports couldn't be seen. And it was kind of treacherous because they had to go through a place by Cape Esperance on Guadalcanal and a little island called Savo. And when they got them in there, of course, they got us up at 2 o'clock. I mean, we was already dressed and everything, but 2 o'clock they fed you what they had, and we landed. They started landing them. It was the sun was out, and the Japanese were so surprised that they were eating their breakfast when we got there.
Oh, gee.
All their rice bowls and everything's out of these tables that they'd made.
So you really caught them by surprise.
Really by surprise, but we didn't see any Japs.
Huh.
So, but we got in through Cape Esperance and Savo Island, and they started. Each transport had a certain area where they put the davits out and put the boats down, and the guys got in them. And as they got in them, they started circling. This kept circling until the last boat that was going to go in on that wave was done.
Right.
And when all the transports got that place, that's when they went in. So that in the meantime, the destroyers and the cruisers that they had was lobbing shells in to the airport, so that damaged it, so they couldn't use it because they was about ready to do it.
Okay.
Another day or two, they had it.
That's close.
It is
That
too
is
damn
real
close. Well, they got these all of their boats, and everything seemed to go off very well. And I know the first thing I saw burning was one of the cruisers knocked off a big schooner. And at the time I didn't know what it was because all you saw was flames from up there. And I thought, oh my God, that's one of our boats. But it wasn't. And they started landing. I'd say it must have been around 9 o'clock the first waves were going in. And I got in about 10. And we went in to Red Beach, and then White Beach and Green Beach was down the way, and the other transports were doing that. Well, of course, the Japanese knew we were there, so they immediately got on the horn and called Rabaul up there. That was a big base,
Yeah.
and Saipan, and so by noon at noontime, it was about between noon and 1 o'clock, here comes a bunch of Bettys. And they were good-sized bombers, and they were pretty good size. and they came in, and they put a direct hit on the engineering ship. What was that? The what come to me after a while, maybe. Well, they lost a bunch of them coming in, but they made one hit, and they started burning, and they lost a lot of equipment. And the other, when we went in, one part went to Guadalcanal, and then there was another one went over the other side of Savo Island, and they went to Tulagi.
All right.
That was the capital of the Solomons,
Okay.
British protectorate there. And there was a couple of float planes over there that tried to get off, but they got them shot down before they could go any place.
Right.
And
Talking about Japanese planes.
yes,
Okay.
Japanese float planes. And so Tokyo knew that we were there. And the thing was, we were told that there was a lot of Japs on there and a lot of a naval battalion that was making the airfield. Well, we thought, hell, that's awful. So they had told us, that when you're going in, you oftentimes lose 3-1, and that wasn't very well taken. But we got there, and we got on the island, and there wasn't anybody there. Their bowls of rice was still there, and the only ones that was still there was some snipers, and they were hanging in trees. But
Everybody hates snipers.
gee, they
Before we get too deep into this, as you're going into the beach, what are you thinking? Your first combat?
well, I tell you, the adrenaline is running so damn fast that the first thing you worry about is getting shelled in a boat and the boat sinking and you drowning,
Okay.
because you got all that stuff on your back. And however, we didn't have to worry about that. But the Japs, they told us at the time, they said, well, there's 2 naval battalions there. It's probably 4,000 men, and probably could be 4,000 Japs or more. We didn't like that.
No.
Anyhow, when we got on the beach, they began to form their companies and start to get them off the beach. And it wasn't long. I was still on the beach. That must have been about noontime. It was about the same time that the Bettys came in, that some fighter planes come in and started strafing. Well, hell, we had stuff. We was just getting stuff on the beach,
Yeah.
so it didn't hurt too damn much. But I know I could hear those bulls cracking around me, and I hugged that damn tree like if I was going to try to get into it. And I looked up, I could see the plane that was Japanese, and I thought to myself, gee, Christmas.
Yeah.
And during times I think there was a lot of yelling. People yelling, do this, do that. And of course, with firing guns going on, you don't know, like somebody says, are they ours or are they theirs?
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Well, everybody was just so green going
Oh,
into
well,
this thing.
I tell you, the only ones that had any combat was you had some officers and some NCOs that had been in Nicaragua, Haiti, and during what they call the Banana Wars,
Yeah.
1927 to 1935,
Wow.
and a lot of them had seen combat with the bandits down there. We called them Sandino, and but the rest of us, the ones that had World War II, were the colonels, and this was a different type of war than that, and so the guys learned fast. If there's anything shooting at you bigger than a BB gun, you're going to learn fast.
Fast. So you were a lieutenant?
Yes,
That's
second lieutenant.
Second lieutenant.
Second lieutenant, I had
That's a bad thing to be in combat.
well, they're expendable.
You tend to be a real big target.
I'll never forget this Colonel Case. He was the regimental commander of the 1st Marines, and he was head of the basic school to Philadelphia when I went, and I got to kind of know them, know by their faces and that. And it's like he was talking one day, and he said, whatever you want to do, you just be as careful as you can. But he says, save that rifle, man. And somebody said, well, what do you mean? He says, the guy says, well, lieutenants, company grade officers are expendable. That made everybody feel good.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, Colonel Case, he was the head of the commanding. He was the general of the 1st Marines, which is the 1st Marine Regiment, and then he became a division commander. I think it was on Saipan. I think he had the 4th Division, and then after the war was over, he became commandant. So all the officers that we had in our regiment were guys that you learn to know them by their face,
Right.
like Colonel Getchy. I'd know him anywhere. He's the colonel that got a report in. He was head of the what the hell was it now? Well, he got the report in his office. There, a CP, that the Japs, some of them wanted to surrender. There was a group of them that wanted to surrender, and they were down in the coconut grove, down about 2 miles, 3 miles about, they said. So he did the wrong thing. He instead of sending somebody else, he decided to take the group. So he asked for some volunteers, and he got some volunteers. There was about 10, 12, I guess, finally. And he should have stayed back. Instead, he went down there. Anyhow, they got out of the boat down there. He got in the coconut groves, and they saw these group of Japs. Some of them they're just standing up, and like they wanted to do that, and they waited till all our guys got out of the boat, and then they slaughtered them.
Oh, gee.
And then they cut them up. They cut them up. 2 guys got away. One was an American Indian. He swam the 3 or 4 miles back. He got back. And the other guy was wounded, but he made it. And intelligence. The colonel was the intelligence. Division intelligence officer. And of course, right then and there, that put the fear of God in all of us, because we figured I could hear the overdraft that well, he shouldn't have gone down there. He should have sent some of the NCOs and riflemen that don't send your leader down there for something like that. Anyhow, that was the first lesson they learned, and it was a good lesson, because I had never heard it happen again. If somebody wanted to surrender, they said, let them come in.
Yeah, hard lesson.
Yes, sir.
Hard. Yeah,
I wonder where they got that information now. I wonder how
you think the Japanese leaked it to him to just lure him down, or?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. There was a runner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
A runner from the Japanese thing come up, and he wasn't armed, and he come up and said he wanted to contact the generals. What he said, well, he wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
So they decided that they had the Colonel Getchy. He said, we're going to go down there, and boy, it was bad.
Yeah, I think when they did the movie, when
Guadalcanal Diary.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember that incident. Wasn't that?
Yes, it was.
Based on
It
that?
was in there. Well, you know that book, Guadalcanal Diary,
Yeah.
was written by Richard Turgascus.
Right.
And the this is what people don't know. I knew him because he was on the boat,
Yeah.
and everybody got talking with different ones, you know. Hell, there wasn't any rank on the boat. They just everybody knew what was going to go for. So he had a little typewriter. God, I never saw one so small. It's what correspondents apparently use.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he was down. He was at the Battle of the Tenaroo, which came later. And then on September 28th, he didn't want to stay any longer on the island. Things were heating up.
Yeah.
We just had that one battle at the Tenaroo where 1,600 Japs got killed in a matter of about 4 hours.
Wow.
And he was down there, he was behind a coconut tree getting all the information. And when he saw this, he decided that he had to get out of there, and he was going to write this book.
Yeah.
So that first book that came out
Yeah.
was up to the 28th of September. And then I understand after that, I've never seen the book, but I understand that he had an addendum which brought it up from records. So I'd never...
Not from actually being there.
Yeah.
Ah. I read it as a kid. I
Uh-huh.
don't remember much about it now.
There was another good fellow that name was John Hershey.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He wrote a good book,
Yeah.
Into the Valley, and that was the 1st.Marines the battalion that was in that. It was a small book, but it was really good.
He's a good writer.
Yes.
And Hiroshima is one that he wrote as well, and it really lays out the detail of it. He's a good writer.
Well, I don't know, but Tergascus, he was a big guy. God, he was about 6'7".
Wow, that's big. That's a big target.
And, yeah, that's hey, the guys used to remind me of that too.
Yeah, Jim Craig was telling us that he felt so sorry for this one guy. He was a big, gangly guy, and he says when you ran across the open, I mean, he was the biggest target, and he says it just broke his heart because this guy was an older fellow too, and it was harder for him to run, and there's just no way he was going to make it across. And
We had a lieutenant
he wound up getting killed.
that his last name was Dane, D-A-N-E, and he got the nickname Great Dane. And I know I was present when they brought the first Jap in that they had captured, which really, all he kept saying is, I'm Korean, I'm Korean.
Yeah, right.
And this Great Dane picked him up by the nape of the neck. Hell, he wasn't very big. Picked him up by the neck and almost threw him in the Jeep.
Oh, gee. That's a story.
Yeah. I often wonder what happened to him because that was the only time I ever saw him.
Wow. Big guy.
Yes, he was something else.
What about the guys in your platoon? I mean, who
Well,
were
the
some of them?
fellows in the platoon, I had, first of all, I was in M Company.
Okay.
And M Company is a machine gun and mortar platoon
Okay.
company, which they've got 30 caliber machine guns, water cooled, 30 caliber machines that are not water cooled.
Yeah.
They've got 61 millimeter, 60 millimeter mortar, and they got an 81 millimeter mortar, and then they got a damn tank gun.
Okay.
It's an awful big company. The average company of infantry generally runs about 300 and something, and ours this would run if you had full complement about 560.
It is big.
It is, and of course what they had to do finally was to it's so hard to get around that they broke up the machine gunners and let they went with the infantry company.
Okay.
Like mine was with K Company an awful lot, K and L Company. different assignments that she went. And almost all the time, the only time that we actually was in unity was when we had a regular front that we covered. And it was, you might say, spread apart so much that if you didn't have the machine guns, you couldn't protect the infantry because we didn't have enough men. And during all this time, the Japanese were coming down the slot, and they had that what we call the Tokyo Express.
Yeah.
And they'd be some old type of tin cans, the old destroyers the Japanese had. They did them like we did ours, some of our World War One. They made them flat so they could carry troops, and they'd come down every night. We'd lose men, and they would replace all theirs.
Oh, yeah.
We wasn't able to replace anything
So
until
you were superior going in, but it began to dwindle
that's
over
right.
time.
Every time it was a matter of attrition. They was getting because we had guys that was in sick bay, and they finally got so bad that they had to take the guys up, even though they had a broken leg, on a line to put machine gun bullets in the belts.
Wow.
And that one day, the thing got really bad in October. We had to go. Our positions was up high on a, well, they call them hills, but they're really small mountains. It takes you a half hour to walk up, and we get up there, and then we had to stay all day because it took too much out of you to go back and forth. But they said, everybody take 2 canteens of water and all the ammunition that you can take with you, and they'd send somebody up with boxes of ammunition, and the fellows that had been wounded were putting machine gun bullets in the belts. Well, they hit us a number of times, and generally when they hit us in more than one place. You weren't sure. Your intelligence picked up a lot of stuff, but they would come out and they'd be seen, like that the Battle of the Tenaroo. They started. Well, it was a moonlight night, and we liked moonlight nights because we could relax until it got dark. And then everybody was on the alert then. Everybody. Well, what happened is these fellows that was on like a point of resistance, they had 90 men of ours that we had spaced at a sand spit. And the creek wasn't very wide. I'd say maybe 150 feet, maybe at the most, at the mouth.
Right.
And when high tide would come, it would come all the way up, and the water couldn't get out of the creek, so it got wider. So just as soon as the lights from the moon stopped, and you could begin to see it getting darker, somebody said they saw some coconuts floating out there. Well, really, it was Japanese helmets.
Oh, gee.
So they gave the alarm, and they started shooting. That was at 2 o'clock in the morning, and at 6:30 in the morning, there was about 1,600 corpses out there. They had to place 2 football fields full, right on the beach.
Wow.
And
So what do you do with the bodies?
well, they was going of course go according to the rules, international laws. You're supposed to take the identification, and give burial. Well, hell, the division physician finally says, we can't wait that long. He says, there's 1,600 out there, and he said, what we're going to have to do is get that bulldozer up here from the airfield, and they dug a trench and put the bodies in.
Wow.
And they put some sulfur on them. but that was the first time. That was a good battle because they beat the Japs so bad. Well, actually, the last one to die was the major, and we had a couple of guys that put grenades in their armpits, and then when our guys would come by to see if there's any wounded, they'd just let them up.
Yeah.
We lost some guys that way. Yeah, they had all kinds of tricks. They wore like a loin, and they could finagle a grenade in one of those. We had some casualties that way. That it's hard to instruct the guys because things happen so fast.
Yeah.
But one thing it did, it boosted the morale so much that I think it gave them a lot to go on from then on, because September and October was going to be bad. It was just like this all the time. And we'd lose men, bury them, and I don't know what they did with some of theirs. We'd come across on patrol, and sometimes you'd find a Japanese or two that was already practically nothing.
Yeah. Decomposing. Was it hot there?
Oh yes, that was one of the worst things about it. That and the mosquitoes and snakes.
Yeah.
The mosquitoes, they used to use a joke about this mosquito come in, and the fellows down there says, "Well, here comes a airplane, the Japanese Zero, wanting some gas." I said, "Well, that's a pretty good liking, because they were a small mosquito,
Yeah.
the Anopheles.
Oh, yes.
It's just them that give the malaria."
That's malaria.
And of course they took took the toll. I think everybody had malaria before they left.
Did you get it?
Oh yeah, I got it, but I never got sick until the day I left. The day I left, I was climbing the rope on the USS American Legion, and I got up at the top, and I began to get black spots on my eyes, and somebody saw me, and they got me over the railing, and they said, "You better go to sick bay." So I went down there to sick bay. They took me down there, and he said, "Well, we'll give you some quinine," and I thought pills. I darn, he come out, it was liquid quinine, and gave me a slice of orange. But a lot of guys got malaria bad on the island. They tried to get the more serious ones off, but we couldn't get any off the islands. The Japs controlled the island.
Yeah, their navy was stronger too, wasn't it?
Oh,
Plus
yeah.
they had the big air base at Rabaul.
That's right, in Saipan. But we had guys that got stuff on them we called the crud. And it would get on any place that is open, the air, and it would get like, you could almost take a slab of flesh off of you, like that.
Oh, gee.
And they just send you to sick bay. They put some kind of permanganate on it or something that it was purple. And I didn't use any of that, but I got some stuff that I still get back today, and it's a form of the crud.
Oh, they are.
So, but a lot of guys got awful
Stick
sick.
with you.
I saw the guys. Some got that other fever. That
Yeah, yellow fever or
No.
that's same thing, isn't it?
well, it's practically the same thing. Dengue fever.
Dengue fever.
Yeah, and then some of the guys was starting to get elephantiasis,
Oh, gee.
and they got them out as soon as they could, as soon as they showed any kind of a sign. And some of the guys that had been down in Samoa, the 7th Regiment, when they joined us, you see, when we went in, they said it was the 1st Division, but it wasn't all the 1st Division. We had the 1st and 5th Regiments, and the 7th was down on Samoa, American Samoa, and Wallis Island.
Some of the battles. There was a naval battle one night. It was pretty hot and heavy. I think one of the admirals was killed.
Well, there's several of them. The first one, first of all, of the 14 naval engagements in the Solomons, there's 14 major naval engagements. 7 of them were at Guadalcanal. It's like the first one. We landed on the 7th, and on the night of the 9th, we settled down across the river. You could hear the Japs. You could hear them talking to themselves, and they had a couple of dogs over there that wouldn't shut up. And we was on this side, and of course we had our sentries out, and we had a couple of dogs. They were just pets, you know. They got aboard ship. Came all the way from the States and from New Zealand. And it started. They knew they knew something was going to happen, because the planes had gone up the slot and had found this task force coming down, and they were going real slow. So they come back and reported that to Admiral Gormley. He's the one who's in charge of it. And he said, well, at that space, they won't be down here till 3 in the morning. Well, what they did, and what he didn't take in thing, was that the pilots said they were going awful slow. Well, what they wanted to do, they wanted to get down here just about 11 o'clock or midnight, which they did. Our guys were in general quarters. After that, they were all sleeping. And the Japanese came in between Savo Island and the Cape Esperance on Guadalcanal there, came in and split. The one split and went with to get the transports and the ships on our side, and the ones that had Tulagi, the Japanese admiral, he split them and went up there, but he didn't. He fired at them and sunk some ships, but he got out of there. If he knew what he had done, we'd all been dead that night.
Wow.
And in the morning, we looked out and we couldn't see any of our transports. And you know, when you see, there was 90 ships that went to Guadalcanal, and a lot of them were transports. And when you didn't see nothing out there, the guy says, well, they left without their davits. What we found out later was that Admiral Fletcher said he wasn't going to stay around there more than 2 days. If they couldn't get unloaded in 2 days, he wouldn't be there. And he took off.
Oh, gee.
He always used the excuse, the same old excuse. I got to go back and refuel. I can't take the chance of being outnumbered of so many ships. And there was 3 aircraft carriers that left just like that.
Wow.
And the funny part about it is, of course, we could hear it. I was down by the coconut.
You could see some of the naval engagements. You could
Yes.
see the tracers.
You could see the tracer bullets from the different ships, flashes. You could see that some of them were on fire, but we couldn't make out which ones they were. But what we didn't know, what was going on, it started to rain. And next to the damn nights, the darkness, rain is terrible.
Yeah.
And we were there at the place where I had was not bad. It was partly in coconut groves and light brush. And it started raining, and I thought, so I could get my poncho out. So I got my poncho out, so let it rain. But I didn't think it was going to rain 10 inches.
Oh,
And
gee.
we had to move. We had to move. those mountains behind us they're about 8,000 feet high, and the water comes down from them like in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. It's down here in no time flat,
Yeah.
and it comes in a gush. Well, that's what happened that night. We had to move, and that always causes confusion.
Oh yeah.
You can't hear people talk, and you didn't want to talk too damn much. The dogs. Anyhow, that was the first naval battle, and we were told in the morning that everything was all right, that the transports went back to get loaded, and hell, our guys knew that they were not loaded because the guys that was on the beach was down there. I saw them leave,
Yeah.
and they got off about half of the stuff in 2 days. And that admiral said that. He said, if you can't unload in that 2 days, I'm out. And that's in the books.
So you probably don't think too much of Admiral Fletcher.
No, I don't. I don't think too much of Admiral Gormley. He's the one that told him to go ahead and sleep until they give the general quarters.
Yeah.
And the thing was that the pilots had emphasized the fact that they were going awful slow. So you kind of put the dots together and think, well, he's going to speed up and be down there for 11 o'clock. And then they were down there almost to the hour.
Wow. That's not too good. Who were some of the leaders you admired?
Well, Major General Vandegrift. Let's see, his first name was Alexander Archer Vandegrift. He was head of the invasion, and I thought he was great because he was a man's man. He didn't hide. And then Clifton Cates, Colonel Clifton Cates, he was the commander of the 1st.Marines. I especially liked him because he was head of the basic school when I went through there, and ours was the last class to go through there when they turned it over to the officers' training, officers' candidate school they started calling it then. And let's see, there's another one there that is one of my main ones. His boy was shot in, what the hell was his name now? He had been down in Panama and in Haiti, Nicaragua. He was in the Banana Wars as an enlisted man. And he came up from private to Lieutenant General. He was a man's man. He was small. He was about, I'd say he's 5'6".
Yeah.
But he knew what he was doing.
Was General Rocky on the island?
Wait a minute, I
Rocky
do a Rocky.
Rocky was on Iwo Jima. I just wondered
Yes.
if he was on Guadalcanal.
I just think there's some of them, but I can't remember that were there that came in like with the 7th
Right.
Regiment and a lot of replacements. They were getting replacements later. And but we knew in October things were bad. In fact, it's even in the books, and the Japanese wanted us to surrender. And they even had the spot picked out. And the Japanese, what they had done, they always do things the hard way and sometimes get it done. They knew that we were holding the airfield and the beaches.
Right.
And they decided what they wanted to do was to have a road. They called it a road first, and then they finally said it was a trail. A trail from the Cape Esperance, clear in the back of the airport, clear around to Aola, which is on the east coast of the island. And we went back there to see what they had, and we saw corpses back there where the guys had apparently died of malnutrition.
Oh, gee.
Because I know they tried to check to see if they had been wounded or not. They didn't. Of course, they had the same thing to put up with that we did, malaria, and
Right.
they didn't get a lot of it either. I know that there was one place it's where the capital of Guadalcanal is now, Point Cruz. It became the capital. Now they got hotels there. And the Japanese were bringing troop transports full of the troops, all to hang on the railings practically. And the aviators got them, and they made them beach. They beached those ships. I had got some pictures of those at the time. And they had to get off the ship because what they was doing, the aviators, they were putting those 50-gallon drums of gasoline and dropping them on the ship and firing them up.
Wow.
And a lot of them got off,
Yeah.
but they was when we took a patrol out. I wasn't with them at the time they went. I was coming back from patrol, and somebody said that there was an awful stench down close to the beach, and so they sent out a patrol to find out what all it was, and it was these Japs getting off of these two ships. That they were about 700 of them, and they were. They said that a lot of them were dead, a lot of them had been burned. They got off the ship and died, and some of them didn't have any even first aid. And they said that the guys were sitting there among the dead, eating. Can you imagine?
Gee.
And
I can't.
I thought to myself, well, we had it pretty bad, but we didn't have gasoline thrown on us.
That's true.
The people that was there, like myself, the higher authorities would go ahead and send us out on patrols, which I didn't like. That's dangerous as all hell. You're liable to get shot by another patrol. And I got in some scrapes that I didn't think I was coming back. The Japanese had a patrol across the river, and there was about 20 of them, and they were jabbering. They didn't know we was on the other side of the river, and some of our guys, I found I had to get down in the water and use one of these little tubes that goes out of the ground, and that to breathe till I got by.
Wow.
We got back, but while I was on that patrol, I had something that was outstanding. Lieutenant Chelsea. He came from Upper New York, and he was a platoon leader of L Company. And when they made the assignments, they generally always send out 2 lieutenants. Like if they have to split, then there's one with them. Well, we went out, and we was out about we left about 9 o'clock, and they knew we'd be back before 4 because we didn't have that much ground to cover. But it was hard to cover what we did. Well, we got up on a knoll. There wasn't anything on there, and it was about 11 o'clock. And we heard the sirens back at camp, the condition red, you know. So we waited till they came over. They came over in formation. That was a funny thing. Almost every day, they come in at 11 o'clock in the morning. You could almost Set your watch. And that morning, we was up on that knoll, and we looked out. I said, "It's about 11 o'clock," and Mike Chelsea says, "Well, they're coming. They'll be here." It wasn't more than a minute. They were starting in beautiful formations, and they were up pretty high. But you've probably heard of Joe Foss, haven't you? The ace. Marine ace, Joe Foss?
Yes, I don't even know.
Well, I had met him on a number of occasions when we got to the airport. Especially we use the airport road to go to the other end, so we didn't have to go through so much jungle. And I met up with him a couple of times, talked to him, and he was flying that morning at 30,000 feet, and he shot down 3 planes before the first one hit the water.
Wow.
And I saw that. I thought, oh my God, we was up there cheering.
Oh, wow.
Hell, they could have knocked us off from some place. But we just so damn glad to see that. And then another fellow that I met, who was a aviator, was Marion Carl. He was a hell of a nice guy. He was an ace. He got shot down the first time, and he was gone, getting back with the natives. It took him about 3 days to get back to the place where he abode. He come back. He told the General Geiger. He was head of the Air Force, the Marine Air Force there. And he told him, he says, "I want you to ground him at least 3 days so that I can catch up," because they were both just like this. And the funny part about it is I take a Marine magazine, and I saw where he was 80, about 87, and he lived in Oregon, which I guess it must have been his hometown. He and his wife, and he stayed in the Marine Corps. He became a lieutenant general, and this happened about 2 years ago. Some kid about 18 years old comes up to the house and forced his way in, and he tried to get him, get hold of him and get him out, and the guy shot him. That's a hell of a way to go, isn't it?
It is. That is.
And
considering what he'd gone through.
yeah,
And have
yeah,
some
you figure
kid,
all the time.
stupid
He
kid.
got shot down another time and got back.
Wow.
So some of those, they had to have a hell of a lot of nerve.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, they was able to have a little drink once in a while, and but some of those guys would go up 7, 8 times a day, because we didn't have very many there at first. We didn't have, after the aircraft carriers left, we didn't have any planes to even come on the airfield.
Wow.
But they had the airfield fixed up pretty good in about 2 weeks, and they sent them in. And at first they didn't have that matting, steel matting on the airport, and they had trouble with that because it was so damn dusty. They had these big water tanks that they'd try to, when they'd go out, they'd figure out about how long it take them to be out, then they'd start watering.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot of accidents that would hit. No. But
Well, initially, you went in with very little resistance.
we had what they call no resistance as far as going in a place that's supposed to be full of enemy. And but it sure heated up fast after they all ran to the hills.
When did it actually start heating up? I mean, how long were you there before? How many days were you there before you really started getting resistance? Or was it
Well,
hours?
we didn't get any resistance from the people that was on the island. We got resistance from the people the Japanese were bringing in by
Bringing back
ship.
in. Okay.
Yeah, what they did is he was a Japanese colonel, and they don't coordinate things too well. The Japanese don't, mainly because of personalities. This colonel, they told him what to do. He was supposed to unload it at Aola, which is about 30 miles down from our positions.
Right.
And they were going to land him that night, and he was supposed to wait till another landing was made to the west of us at the same time, and then they would get together by this east-west route.
Right.
And what happened is that he didn't want to wait. He wanted to get the glory.
Oh, gee.
So he's the one that marched him up to hell. They marched him up there within sight of us. You could see him on the beach.
Wow.
And our guys, we had spotters out down the beach, and then we had these coast watchers. The coast watchers helped us out by telling us about how many boats there was and about how many men would be
Right.
available. But this Colonel Itchy, he didn't want to wait. So he just marched them from Aola, and they got there, didn't rest or anything, and wait till the next day. He decided to do it then. So they got, well, there was nobody left.
Yeah. Good thing for you.
Yeah,
You decided to do that.
1,600 men, and we only had 90 men on that point when it started. Of course, we got plenty there
Smokes.
after it started.
But when something like that happens, they sound an alarm. Is it just an oral alarm, or do they ring bells? Or
Well,
what do you?
it's mainly by telephone if they're all in communications.
Okay.
Now they watch the communications. They have those phones. They're a field phone. You wind them up, till they get enough juice to go through, and that's how we had it there.
Right.
And then of course they had some other radios. We had the radios that the men carried on their backs, and but you got to have two men. You got the one carries it, and while he carries it, the other guy's is getting
Generating
electricity in it, and then that guy comes and takes it and gets his party if he can. And it was always squawky to me.
Yeah.
It just seemed like that. It was always squawky when you needed it.
Yeah. I'd also heard in one of the engagements that one fellow said that when you dig a foxhole, you want to put the sand behind you instead of in front of you. And did you do anything like
No,
that?
we didn't have time for that because, I'll tell you, so much of that was coral down there,
Yeah.
and it seemed like all we did. Every time we'd move, we had to do a new foxhole, and I had kind of a bad experience. I had a place. There's one thing I want to get in here,
Yeah.
that I think people don't know or don't think about it. We had a beachhead on Guadalcanal that would, from the first day, at the end of the second day, we had a strip along the beach, 8 miles long and 2 miles wide, which incorporated the airfield.
Yeah.
All right. After they found out that the Jap soldiers that were there, and they were landing them like the Battle of the Point, and that we couldn't hold. We didn't have many men to hold everything, because see, we had 18,000 men, but that was on 4 islands. So General Vandegrift said that he thought that they should come in a little bit and be closer together and be able to defend that, which that's what happened.
Right.
But a lot of people think when they say Guadalcanal, they think we had the whole damn. We never did get the whole island. On February 7th, the Japanese said goodbye to Guadalcanal. They evacuated approximately 14,000 troops.
Wow.
And they did that down by Cape Esperance.
What would you estimate was the largest area you controlled at
Well,
before they left?
until they made that big offensive after the first year, that's what we had up until about January. January they started the offensive, and that they took in January the first thing that we were supposed to get the second day, Mount Austin. We were supposed to get there the second day. It's very high,
Yeah.
and you could watch everything that's going on. And that's what the Japanese were doing. They were. We were wondering how they was able to do what they did. They had this one big cruiser gun, came off a cruiser. It had to be an 8-inch gun at least, and they got that somehow off the ship, and got that up there. And whenever they'd fire it. This arc.
Yeah.
It was really not accurate,
Yeah.
but it made everybody, you wonder.
Couldn't sleep too well.
Yeah. They generally did it during the daytime.
Yeah.
And we called it Pistol Pete. And then after they'd fire about 4 or 5 shots, they'd push it in the side of the mountain again.
Okay.
And I don't know how they did it.
I think I saw that on Guadalcanal Diary in the movie too.
Probably was.
Something like that.
I
couldn't
had
find it.
I had 3 of my men. 2 of them were killed and 1 was injured by that guy. It was in the afternoon, and that's when they start firing. Well, these guys we were far from where the gun was, and these 4 or 5 fellows was playing cards on a Marine Corps blanket. And somebody said, "There goes Pistol Pete," and everybody starts scrambling. Well, it was too late. They didn't even get to their foxholes. And this one kid from Detroit, I never saw any blood, but his back was peeled back, all the flesh, the whole back. You could see the intestines, you could see liver. But no blood. But the concussion killed him. And this other kid, he was from Indianapolis. I've never been able to find him since. He had a piece of shrapnel that went in here and came out over here. And they got him off the island finally and took him down to Brisbane, Australia, down there in the Army hospital.
So he survived that?
Yeah, he survived it.
Wow.
I've been trying to contact him, and they say, I know that he's alive, or was alive after the war, because my good friend Bob Kelly here in Anderson got drafted, and he went into the Navy, and he was on the ship going back to one of the other islands.
Okay.
And they you know how you are when you're close to people that you don't know. You say, "Where are you from?"
Yeah.
Indiana. Oh, I got friends in Indiana. Yeah. Where? Anderson. Where's that? And then they'll say, "Well, it's pretty close to Indianapolis." And the guy says, "Well, I know a guy from Indianapolis. He's on this ship."
Yeah.
And so I mean, he talked to him, and then I got a letter from my friend here that he had contacted him aboard ship. That's funny, but
It is.
it
That's
happens.
odd.
It happens a lot.
What was this fellow's name? You call
Derry,
Derek?
no, you mean the one in
that
Anderson?
one that was wounded.
It's a Polish name. It was. I know what it is, but I can't think of it. And I often wonder about him because he came from Detroit, and I always thought about the name was almost like that Polish fellow that was in France that refused to go to the battle, and he was shot.
I know who you mean. I cannot think of the name. I'm drawing a blank on it too.
But anyhow,
Mhm.
it was. I saw so many times like that. I saw people in Australia that I hadn't seen that had been in the islands. I saw a guy by the name of George Horn. He was in the Army, and I met him in Townsville. It was just outside of where we went. But things were bad in October. the Japanese said we could surrender, and it was all the historical side again the other day. I know that they all told them that they should, and the High Command in Washington even gave permission to Vandergrift
Wow.
that if he thought things were that bad that rather than have any more bloodshed, and of course the guys always said after Pearl Harbor, and especially after we got the Allies, who was having it tough, they said we won't surrender here. They'll have to knock us off, and I think that what did it was the death march in the Philippines, and we figured that's what they'd do to us.
They would. They probably would have.
Probably would have done a good job. They wouldn't take anybody off.
You might as well go ahead and die
That's right.
Taken prisoner and dying later anyway.
But I saw that where they gave General Vandergrift permission that it wouldn't be against him, that things were that bad. Of course, everybody lost so much weight. Hell, I went from 140, I was almost 145, I went down to about 122. And at one time, that was when I got back to Australia. So I was probably less than that. But the guys that was worst off was the big guys. Some of those football players that I was going to school with at the time. they really, I didn't know some of them hardly. They sallow cheeks.
Yeah. Wow. Didn't sound like a very fun place to be.
No, but I'll tell you, things got better in November, and Halsey came there. I believe, as I remember, the first time was October. Yes, it was October, because he said he came in the island and he made rounds at some of the different units, going through the inspect and find out, and he saw how bad the guys were off, and we had just started getting American food. We was on Japanese rice from the second day until the latter part of October.
Oh, really?
That's all we had.
Supplies?
That's all we had, but they didn't get enough supplies off.
Wow.
And we had rice. And they had weevils in them, and some of them got fish heads, which we didn't get any of those. Some of the units got them. But one thing that the Japs left that we liked, and that was with the first day we got there, we found the beer. They had brought this beer called Kirin beer. It was made by the Kirin Brewery in Shanghai.
Yeah.
It was in quart bottles, and it was good lager. And of course, this as soon as High Command heard we was drinking it, they confiscated it from us. And then we had their sake wine, which I didn't like it. It tasted like it was molded.
Oh, really?
And I know some of our guys used to sit around in a circle like the Japs, about 6 or 8, and it just passed this gallon bottle, taking a swig.
Yeah.
That's how they did. They warmed it. God, it's bad enough when it's. Well, things got better, as I said. At the latter part of November, we had several battles there that we didn't know the outcome right away. The Japanese finally got enough men in there. These boats at night coming in there. They got them over in back of the airport, and they waited till they get about 3,000 or 4,000 in one place to break through. And one night, they damn near broke through. Some of them did break through and got to some of the guns back, but they cleared them out pretty fast. But they were all hopped up. They were on drugs.
On something.
Oh, they did that, and they'd come out of those damn jungles, yelling and screaming, and the scream's enough to make you squirm.
Yeah.
But
You still-
then we had on October 24th was one of the worst days we saw. I was transferred with my platoon down along the Lunga, close to the ocean, and well, I could see the sand spit in front of me. Sand spit at low tide was about 40 yards wide, maybe 200 or 300 feet long, and at low tide, somebody said that they had been on patrol. They heard a big motor, and somebody said, "Well, what the hell? We haven't seen anything like that." And somebody said, "How so and so was on patrol and heard it," and so they got a hold of him, and he says he thinks it was a tankette. One of those things like a reconnaissance thing.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they sent these guys out, and they said there was a series of tanks in a row down along the beach road.
Huh.
So they said, "Oh, that's what they're planning then." So they brought down a lot of 30 millimeter guns and put them out there in mass. Instead of being 50 yards apart, they was 15 feet because they was going to have them there.
Yeah.
And they stacked ammunition up until they got what they wanted. They couldn't do anymore. And sure enough, about 5 o'clock, where they heard the chirring
Yeah.
of them, and the first one poked and stopped, and like if they were getting their last instructions.
Yeah.
And when they started up, this major was in charge of that group that was along there, of the 37s, and he said, "Don't fire at him. Don't fire at that first one." He says, "Let him get out there just where he can't turn around." And he says, "Then hit the last one." There was 13 tanks. And by gosh, they got on the sand spit, and they got it. They got the one. He couldn't turn. Every time he wanted to turn, it like a circle, he'd go in the water.
Yeah.
So then they opened up on the front tank, and I happened to get the sword from the guy in the first tank.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. I got it, and I got his picture. He had carried his picture, and he had the sword come out of the tank with the pistol. You know, big. That's a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
And
Bet you guys were scared.
yeah, and I had a Life magazine that I saved out here until the other day, and I can't find it. But one of those last Life magazines of the old Life magazine had his picture. The guy set him on the tank, and he had, he was a skeleton sitting on like the part of the front of the tank.
Huh.
And I thought to myself, I got his picture, and I got his sword.
Wow. That's quite a souvenir.
Yeah, it is. I thought I'd never get back to the States, though.
Yeah.
Did you get it back though?
Yeah, I got it back.
There's been some interesting stories on how fellows got things back here.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one that is. When I had left, our division was getting ready to go up to New Guinea, one of the little islands off. It's called Good Enough. It's good. A little island called Good Enough Island, and it's on the map. I looked it up, and we were getting ready to invade New Britain. And I was in the hospital with my last malaria, and they came in one morning and said, "You got a one-way ticket home." And I said, "Well, okay." I said, they said they're going to be leaving in a matter of days, and they've got your fellow that's taking your platoon over. And I said, well, who's that? And they said, Francis Cafferty. And he was a staff sergeant.
Yeah.
He got a field commission. Hell of a good guy. Good man. And I didn't get to see him, but that part of the portion that had already left, they were taking him up in segments. And I thought to myself, well, he's a good guy, and I'll be doggone, he was knocked off the second day.
Oh, gee.
That's the worst part of the war that I had to go through. Was I thought to myself, I knew him. I used to, he was in the company there all the time. We was on the island, and he wasn't married. And his sister lives up in New York. And at last I had heard that she was still living. But the family took it pretty hard.
Yeah, you hear about that.
Yeah.
They're just lost so quick.
Well, we had a boy that I knew at school here in Anderson, Morris Mangeli. He joined the Marines about the same time I did. And he was with the brigade that went to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, where they formed the 1st Division. See, the Marines never had a division never had a force big enough for a division before World War II. Yeah. And we ended up with 6. But he was in I Company of the 5th Marines, and he got killed the first week we were there. He got Japanese machine gunner got him on a sand spit on the Lunga River. So it was. I see his sister every once in a while, and the other thing that I probably want to say is that I was a witness to the great battle in November. It was around November 12th, 13th, and 14th, or the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And we knew it was going to come because Admiral Halsey had said that they would be in if they had to come in shooting to bring more troops. And they did. But that battle lasted 3 days.
So,
okay.
in November, things got better.
Things got better because Halsey brought in everything he could, and they had a naval battle there. I remember the first day of the battle, I was standing down almost on the beach, and I saw a sight that I'll probably never see again. I saw 20 of these Japanese Bettys in line coming down to the slot, and they were so low that the gunners had to fire their guns into the water. You know, the best of that, wow. As low as they'd go. And I remember they it's such an explosion of water that these planes, as heavy as they were, they just flattened out and went in the ocean. Huh. And there was one got away. And then, but before the one that I saw first come through, he hit the ship and killed Admiral Scott and Admiral Callahan.
Yeah.
That was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they lost him. And that started it off, and it was touch and go for 3 days and 3 nights. And I remember when it got over with, they said how much we'd lost and how much they'd lost, and they finally said that was the Battle of Guadalcanal. And that's when the Japanese that didn't know what to do, they still were pouring troops in there, but they were losing their transports too. So when we mounted this offensive in January, by that time the Army Marical Division had been there, and another Army division, and then some supplemental special forces, and they carried it through January, and it was officially ended on the 7th of February. Some say the 9th, but I think 7th sounds better because that's the 6-month anniversary of going into the island. But there was a feeling after that the Jap had put his tail between his legs and gone back.
That really was it. I mean, if you guys had lost Guadalcanal,
Yeah,
you might have lost the war.
that's right.
But by winning Guadalcanal, that pretty much sealed it. From that
That's
point
right.
on, they were on the
It was
defensive.
probably the most strategic battle of the war, in my estimation, because not the number of troops or the number of ships involved, it protected the Australia-New Zealand lifeline.
Yes.
And the Japs almost had that. If they had got across the mountains there, the Owen Mountains in New Guinea, they'd had to either quit the war or we'd had to just tail back.
Yeah.
But we had, by that time, we was getting stuff over there. That was one of the big things that we objected to, is that a lot of the stuff that we should have been getting down there at Guadalcanal went to Russia. The Russians was getting a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of the stuff that we were sending the Russians that went through Murmansk got sunk. So the more stuff they got, the more it got sunk, the less we got. And that was why that by the end of the war, we had plenty of everything.
So it was going to Russia, even though the war with Germany was done at that point, or was it the war with Germany still going on?
Well, the war with Germany was going on,
Okay.
but they gave them priority.
They gave
For that was settled when we got in the war with Churchill and M. That
Sure.
they said that was part of the, and I know there's a lot of people in Congress that didn't like that. In fact, there was a number of people that objected to, because they had a question: do you want to put 18,000 Marines on a beachhead and leave 2 days later? Nothing to fight with and nothing to eat with, and leave them there for months fighting, and everything's going to the other side.
Yeah, that wasn't right.
And we wouldn't have needed that much more. In
Right.
other words, if we could have even doubled what we had down there, and been able to get troops in, new troops. Ours is a period of attrition. Hell, you had guys back that couldn't do anything. They had malaria, and
Yeah.
they had other stuff besides the wounded. And I think that that's always been a bitter pill with me, that here we had something going that was more strategic than what was in Russia at that time. They were at the Battle of Stalingrad. They were holed up there, but they had plenty of stuff with them.
Right. Well, the Germans weren't going to win that anyway.
No,
There's just no way. They couldn't have beat the Russian winter. if
that's
nothing
right.
else.
Well, look at Napoleon.
Yeah. He didn't make it.
Nope. That's a pretty big place when you fight the elements.
Right.
Now the elements, as far as I was concerned, I can stand the heat better than I can the cold. Those guys in Korea, I had a lot of my own men that came back from the war that stayed in. They went to Korea. This Master Sergeant Bamford, that I went up to California and met him with a group from the military, and so like he said, they said those poor guys in Korea. He says, I didn't have to go, but he says I know a lot of guys did. He says they were never the same.
Korea was a nasty place.
Yes, it was.
I think of all the wars we fought,
Oh, that's a
World War I was bigger,
yeah.
But Korea had to be the nastiest thing we ever fought in.
Well, it was a forgotten war.
Yeah.
They after World War II, we did the same thing as we did in World War One. We demobilized everything and scrapped everything, and they didn't have nothing to go to. It was almost as bad as in 1939. We didn't have anything.
War's over. Don't need it anymore.
When I first went down to Quantico, Virginia, when I first started that officers program, they were using just anything. They had these little Buffalo dive bombers. They had about 6 of those, and you know what they was using for bombs? Practicing sacks of flour. Yes, sir, they did, and like a lot of other things that they substituted until they got the war gear going. Once they got that going, really it was a miracle.
It's always been our strength, that our
Yes.
manufacturing base.
That's
and
right.
now we've pretty much given it all away to China. I don't think we could fight a war like this
Well,
again.
I'll tell you, look at what's manufactured in the United States anymore.
Yeah, nothing. Nothing.
We bought a fan the other day, and I said, I like this fan. It's one of these tower, and I says, I'll bet you it wasn't made here. I looked at it, it says China.
China. Everything's
And you'll
China.
see Malaya, every place but here.
Right.
Hell, I go in to buy something in the store. If I need it, I'll buy it only because I need it. I try to look for made in America, but boy, I
do
tell
too.
you.
I do too.
And you know, Walmart was advertising the last number of years that they try to put America First stuff on the on the shelves, but I noticed if you go there, there's not too damn much of it.
Yeah, they've had to cave in like everyone else.
That's right.
It's just not made here anymore. I'm curious. We had a fellow who was on Green Island, and it was in the Solomon Group, I believe. Are you familiar with it? Just a little bitty.
No, I'm not.
It's even hard to find on maps. Occasionally, you can find a map that has it.
What was the occasion there?
I just you look out on the map and on the internet. Occasionally, you'll find one. But they had a small airstrip there.
Oh,
He was in the Marines out in
Green Island. huh?
Tacoma, Washington. He was in the area, and we did his interview. Russell Fuller. Have we pretty much covered Guadalcanal?
Huh?
Have we pretty much covered Guadalcanal? Was there anything else?
I believe so, because there's a lot more I could say, but you know, it's like everything else. You may say too much,
Well, that's up to you.
but I've had opportunities to go back there. You know, these trips that they have, these groups. I finally decided I didn't want to. At first I kind of thought, well, you know, and then when I began to see these ones that did go over there, you see them shaking hands with the Japanese that was there when they were there,
Yeah.
and that happened in Guadalcanal. They got a number of things down there where they meet and have lunch together and all that kind of stuff. I don't trust the Japanese.
Yeah, still.
I think that that is embedded in them, and I wouldn't turn my back.
So you think dropping the atomic bomb is probably a good thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so because in the first place that war could have gone on. We could have lost millions of men. Japanese cities would have been destroyed. Millions of people killed. And we come right down to what's the difference in using an atomic bomb and knocking the thing out and clearing the war out than going and burning cities, which is going to amount to more than a couple of million people.
That's true. That's true. It's like you see an airplane accident and you see a car accident, and people think, oh, airplane accident, that's horrible, but hundreds of people more during that same day were killed in automobile accidents. Very much the same.
That's right. But I never went back, and didn't care to. I did attend my the 3rd Battalion. We have a association of our own, and I went and I enjoyed it because I got to see a lot of my own platoon, and a lot of them, of course, one of them that I had gone to school with, he died the other day, and they're dying off pretty fast. So I just figured, well, I ain't gonna go over there. If I'd gone over, if it had been earlier, and I was too much against what the Japanese did. Yeah. All I had to do was think about Pearl Harbor and the Death March, and you know you can get a lot of guys riled up about that. And then the prisoners of war.
Yeah.
Look what they did to some of those in the mines.
Oh golly.
I forget how much they say that. I guess it's about 70 or 75% of the ones that was in those mines died there. They worked them 20 hours and gave them very little food. No, I don't forget things that way very easy, and I just see now where they're not. I guess our government did something that we can't even put in for money from the Japanese for the Death March. Mm. We had a doctor here in Anderson that was in the Death March.
Oh, really?
He's still alive.
Who would that be?
I'd have to ask my wife, because I asked her the other day. I said, is he still alive? She says, oh yeah, he's not practicing, of course, but he was still alive. I could ask her.
Yeah, I'd like to get that.
You asked her if she wanted to. Was you going to do her?
She's next Wednesday.
Well, I don't think she knows about it.
Oh, I thought she said she would do it.
She said she'd do it, but I don't think there was a date set, was there?
I thought we had, maybe.
Oh, I don't know, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
I might add to this here, that's where I met her.
Yeah, that's we're getting into that.
I was, when I came back from overseas, I was assigned as commanding officer of the Marine Detachment at Radio Chicago. That's where they had, that was the beginning schools, preliminary schools for making radios and electronic and radar equipment. Yeah. I was administrative only. We got them we'd graduate class every week, 30 days. There'd be that many classes going on. We had the Naval Barracks there, and the Marine Barracks was with them, and we had Herzl High School. We had a place on State Street, and there's another. Wright Junior College. We had all those. We had about 1,800 at school at one time, but they just graduated out. And then when they graduate, we'd send, our office would take the assignment that Washington would give us, and then we'd send so many Marines to naval aviation at Memphis, Tennessee, or aboard ship. And we sent the Marines and the Navy captain up there. They sent them different places.
Right.
And we did that until I was there until April, right after Roosevelt died. And they sent me to Portsmouth Naval Base at Portsmouth, Virginia. And I was down there. And while I was there, I was over at the officers' club having a beer, and I saw my wife sitting, talking to a bunch of sailors, and I had a little book of matches, and I wrote on the back of it, "You look like you're bored. How about give me your name and address and phone number?" So she did, and by golly, we were married in the February, that coming February.
Wow.
I'm still in.
Well, just officially for the record, what is her name?
Her name is Virginia Sue Mahaffey Loftus.
Mahaffey. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Scotch and Irish.
That's a good combination.
But I think it'd be nice. I mean, it's funny how I met her, and it's funny I married her, and you know, it's funny how things fall in place.
Yeah.
All during the war, I would never let myself get to the place where I get myself in a corner that I'd have somebody I'd have to worry about.
Right.
And when the war was over, I knew what I was looking for, and I happened to find it real easy.
How long did it take you to figure out that, hey, this is the one?
Well, I think I met her in August of '45, and we married in February.
That's pretty quick.
It is,
That's pretty quick.
especially for me.
Yeah. I think I knew with Sue our first phone conversation.
Yes.
Before I even met her. And then when I met her, I thought, wow, that's even better. I was convinced pretty quick.
Yeah, she was there at the U.S. Naval Hospital at Portsmouth, and that's where we were married. We was married in the chapel next door.
Sound like a nice place for a military couple to...
Yeah,
Right?
we got a good start there.
Now, she was in the Navy?
Yes, she was a Navy Nurse Corps.
Any rivalry there between the Marines and the Navy?
Not really.
Okay.
Nope. I told her, I says, of course we kid each other about it. But this last 60 years is gone. I don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
And the last 25 is going faster. I know I made a remark today again. I do it almost every week. I says, gee, this is getting ready for trash day. Well, I guess that's about all.
Well, you went, you got a little bit more. You say you wound up in Korea?
No, I got called back. Oh, I didn't tell you that.
Yeah.
We already had 2 children, and I got orders to come back in and get refit. And I called and asked for a delay of 6 months because my daughter was only 4.5, 5 years about, and my boy was only, God, he was only a couple of months old. And my wife, or Jenny, she had myasthenia gravis, which is, so I had to, I told them that she needed to be where she can get this certain drug and that. And at that time, they didn't have any facilities, so they allowed me 6 months. And so I left in March of 1952 and reported to Camp Pendleton and put me at their mercy. And I got out there about 2 o'clock in the morning. I had a hell of a time finding it because I had never been to Camp Pendleton before.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the Spanish language that you pronounced J's as H's.
Yeah.
And they told me to report to the officer of the day at on Homaja something, and I kept passing this place for how long. The spelling I couldn't tell it, and finally after about an hour I go up to the front gate, and I says, "Where in the hell is this place that you're sending me to?" And they said, "Well, you just go up here just about so many miles, and of course Camp Pendleton is so damn big. Hell, it's 30 miles from the main gate down to where some of them live." And I said, "I've been trying this now for a couple of hours to find this." And so they said, well, they told me just where to turn. And they kept saying this word. I said, well, how in the hell is that spelled? And when he told me, it was flashing in my face. I know, I saw the great big sign there with an arrow. And so I went up there, and I got up there, and I wasn't in very good humor anyhow. And this lieutenant colonel was officer of the day, and I got him up. Of course, he had to get up and check me in, and then tell me where I was to go to get sleep. And he was madder than hell. And I said, I've been driving for 5 days, and I says, I don't appreciate some of the stuff that's going on since I've got here. And he says, you mean me? He said, well, I have to get up. I says, well, I'm just going to tell you, Colonel, tough. And this is what I said. And by golly, I waited until the next day, and they assigned me where I was going. And then this major told me, he says, well, you won't be around here very long. You're a retread. We're going to retread you and send you over. And I says, oh, is that right? I says, well, I happen to have 2 children and a wife, and I says, I had more points that I needed to get out of World War II, and so I says, there better be somebody that's got less points than I have before I go.
Yeah.
So he didn't say too much, but he knew what I meant. And things got better, but they wouldn't let me bring her out there. They said, well, you're going to ship out, and you can't bring your family. And so I finally, after 8 months, I got a chance to get her out. This doctor out there made arrangements. Dr. Grammer, he said, Navy doctor, he says, well, they can get that stuff. I don't know why they said they couldn't get it. And so he says, I'll get it. So he got it, and they told him they let me bring her out. And then right after that, I had a year in, getting ready to start on my 2nd year, and that was when the French were having trouble to Dien Bien Phu.
Oh boy.
And Eisenhower wanted to. He didn't want to send any troops. He said he'd send some
advisors.
well, I didn't think it was advisors. I think they would send some tanks and something like that. It'd be ordnance. It wouldn't be men. And so as things went on, when they had that thing at Pamela and John, they didn't know if it was going to work or not. But each month, whenever the list had come out, you looked for the guys that hadn't been over, and the guys that had been over, and they had that thing. You could check it, and I made it finally.
Did you made it? You didn't get sent over?
I didn't get sent over.
Okay.
No. I just after I got down to 3 months, they said you don't need to worry about it.
It had to be really hard on the World War II guys.
It was.
I mean, you fought this massive war, and
It was.
We're done, and then they turn around and they do it all over again.
Yeah, the thing they did, it would have been different if they hadn't demobilized like they did. Mm-hmm. But Jiminy Christmas, guys got out. Of course, the guys that had their jobs, they got out, and their people wanted them back to work as soon as they could get them.
That's right.
I know that I got a call. It was my last 6 months in California at Camp Pendleton, and Delco Remy called me, and first they wrote a letter and asked me to contact the personnel office at my convenience, and they want to know when I was coming back, because they had these billets that needed to be taken care of at Delco, and my job is still there, and so I told him, I said what it would be, and I got out. I sold my car out there. You could sell your car for a good deal, and bought a car out there, but through them, and have it picked up at the factory. and we came back on the train. Now we don't even have the trains.
Yeah. Would have been an interesting way to travel. My grandmother always liked to travel by train.
But I saw a lot of people in my tour of the Korean War that was in my platoon, some of them, not all of them, but some of them very good friends that I kept up since then. I got a master sergeant down in Texas that I call up every once in a while. He was coming to the reunions, and he was a month younger than me, so we had a lot in common. And it's just nice to talk to him every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I got to call him. Well, that's about it.
What? How much more kick we got?
About 12 minutes on this one.
Okay, we're good. We're good. Well, you did mention a couple of kids.
Yes, I had two, Susan Lee Loftus Lind. She was born March 23rd, 1947. And she attended St. Mary's. She was second class last, I think, before it closed. And she attended Catherine Spaulding College in Louisville and became a registered nurse. She's now employed. She's a registered nurse, and now she's one of the supervisors in the Marion County Health Service. And she's got about 56 nurses that they have to deal with, and mainly with the schools and things that way. And presently she's living with me and drives back and forth. And she had no children. And Mark Edward Loftus was born, let's see, October 24th, 1951. And he attended St. Ambrose School for the first 8 grades. But when we found out that St. Mary's was going to close in a year, we just let him go to Madison Heights. That we didn't have to change it in high school. And he lives in Anderson.
Did he graduate in 1969 or 1970?
Would have been 70 probably.
Susan graduated in 65, and they're 69, I think.
Yeah, I graduated in 69 from Madison Heights.
Well, I'll bet you it's that. I think it's 69.
I'll have to get out the old
Yeah.
yearbook and look him up.
Yeah, he lives in Anderson. But it's been a great life. I've enjoyed it. And
Can you think of anything else, Steve?
Not really.
Always like to do a last check around the room.
uh-huh.
We'll think of 3 things before we get out.
Before you get in the car.
Well, we always give our veteran sort of a last shot here to say a few words for posterity. Any kind of personal wisdom or philosophy you'd like to
Like what?
put down?
Well, I believe we live in the greatest country there is. I'm happy to have lived through probably the golden years before communism almost took the world over. I was glad to serve my country, and in fact I was asked not too long ago if they happened to call me up as an old man to sit in a chair someplace, I'd volunteer. I feel like I owe the country an awful lot, and what little I can put in from here on isn't much, but I see that I vote every election, whether I like them or not. I say I vote so I can squawk.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
I didn't think I'd ever see what's coming to Anderson as far as the employment situation. That never was the farthest thing from my mind. You knew it when you was in high school. You knew that all you had to do is go out there the day after graduation and you could get a job and work your way up.
Now kids have got to have 2 jobs just to get by.
That's right.
Pretty sad.
And that's what's wrong with the whole situation. And I think our government could be better because there's too much of this political stuff. I hate to see it going on. We've had some very poor presidents. I think we got a fine gentleman now as president. He's not going to get all he would like to have in. But what I don't like to see is like Senator Capehart. Oh, what is that guy from Missouri?
Gephardt.
Gephardt.
Yeah.
Gephardt and Daschle.
Daschle.
And the guy Patrick Leahy from there. They're doing a very great disservice to our country. If they had put as much time and ambition to cause trouble as they do, we'd have a much better country.
Well, you came from a generation of statesmen and people who
Yes.
took responsibility. It's not what you faced, it's how you faced it.
That's right. That's right.
Really made a difference. Well, Major Loftus, I want to thank you for this
You're
interview
welcome.
and for your service to our country.
I'd like to make a little donation.